Existential Crisis Hotline. The Existential Crisis Hotline. The Existential Crisis Hotline. The Existential Crisis Hotline. The Existential Crisis Hotline.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Existential Crisis Hotline. And man, I've got some interesting things to share tonight on the stream. If you're in the chat, say hi. Give me a thumbs up on the audio. And I have a couple things I want to just show you first, little quick things. But just to give you kind of an idea of where I want to go with everything tonight. Well, actually, why do you want to stick around? Okay, I'm going to go through a few couple quick news items. But then I want to get into, I want to open your perspective into other people's experiences in this world, right? It's really easy to kind of insulate yourself. Everybody has experiences in their life. Everybody has their own individual experience of their life. Hey, Sandra. And, you know, if you think about like the Dunning-Kruger effect, that it's basically saying it's kind of hard to relate to people outside of your kind of general experience of yourself. It's hard to kind of see things from another person's perspective that maybe isn't as intelligent as you, or maybe is less intelligent than you. Just as one example, people in a totally different economic situation than you. It's difficult for us to get outside of our own experience sometimes. And yes, you can travel and you can meet people. But the great thing is that we have the internet, and, you know, that's a double-edged sword, because you also have lots of conspiracy theories, some of which may be true, some of which may be just totally insane and people just making shit up. You never know unless you really go and verify everything yourself. But I always get a lot of value listening to other people tell their story. So I want to show you a few things tonight of different people's experiences and so forth, and maybe open up your perspective to things you hadn't seen before or considered. Maybe some of these things you have seen before. But I have a few things lined up that I think will be really interesting, also entertaining. But before we do that, I'll start with some of the news items real quick. Just things that are happening, I guess, probably in the past day or so. Last night on the stream, we talked about this, actually. I think it was last night. I played these clips separately, actually, and now someone put them together. So the first one is Rubio, and then there's Trump 2 days later. I'll just play this real quick.
Imagine in Iran that instead of spending their wealth, billions of dollars supporting terrorists or weapons, had spent that money helping the people of Iran, you'd have a much different country.
We have to take care of one thing: military protection. The United States can't take care of daycare. That has to be up to a state. We can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We have 50 states. We have all these other people. We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare. It's not possible for us to take care of daycare. Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things.
Imagine in Iran that
I mean, on the one hand, he's got a point. I don't think the U.S. government can really take care of all of that. Also, I don't necessarily agree that, I don't agree that daycare is best for your children. I know there's extenuating circumstances and so forth, but assuming a parent has an effective education, they really are the best educator for their child. So instead of just putting a Band-Aid on it and saying, well, some parents aren't educated and they don't know how to treat their kids properly, so let them put them in daycare. But you're putting them from one bad situation into another, really, in most cases. So it's not a solution. But I do empathize with the point in terms of where things are at right now. It's a little bit ironic for us to say that Iran should be taking care of its people instead of funding its military, but we're doing literally the same thing. We're putting a lot of money into the military, and I think Trump was saying they want to ramp that up even more, like no one's ever seen before. And I saw this just before I got on the stream. Well, it was posted earlier today, I guess, but this is a representative from New Jersey, and I guess it's some kind of hot mic recording thing. I haven't even listened to it yet. I just saw this, so let's see what he says.
The list goes on and on of all the things. Our gas tax automatically increases in New Jersey. And by the way, so do our tolls and our fees automatically increase. All of that. Now we're going to have on top of that, and I'm talking to my folks in New Jersey, my state, you better just keep breaking your back and working hard, maybe get yet another job. The list goes on.
Yeah, get another job, guys. That's the answer. Get another job. And yet we've got AI and data centers and robotics coming in. Maybe that might solve your problems temporarily, but it's definitely not a long-term solution. Unless you just want to basically be a plumber. But I don't think everybody can be a plumber. If everybody was a plumber, they could do their own plumbing. So that can't be the solution. Let's see what else. Let me go to this next. This is Palmer Lucky from Anderl. And I just want to contrast, like, the just what people are focused on, you know, in our reality. So imagine you're a billionaire and you get to just create stuff like this all day. Like this is what you do for your whole life purpose.
Drone that's watching, so just watch for a moment. So the blue force is my friendlies. So see that little right-hand corner where it sees behind the containers? They're tracking where the bad guy is. They're tracking where my guys are. And then watch when they go behind the container. So I can actually see through it and watch. Now they're engaging the guy over there, and he's down.
Wow.
Imagine a guy's coming over a hill, and I want to engage him. So actually, I'm going to pot on the mission shield. There we go. So this is a system that allows everybody to basically be operating as one combined hive mind, where you can all share a view of the world. And by the way, this view that I have, it's shared now with all of the robots as well. So anything I see, like let's see I see someone inside of a building, every drone and every person now sees that person where he is. It's so crazy that I was born at the right time to actually get to build a drone that's watching. So just
It's like his life is just a video game. So that's what people are focused on. And then before I get into some of the videos and some of the deep dive stuff, I'll show you one more thing. I just thought it was interesting. I saw this before I logged in for the stream. Someone says, what is your best logical argument for the existence of God? I have two arguments that are very compelling. Argument number one. The universe must logically have had a beginning. If it had a beginning, then that beginning must have had a cause. That cause must be outside of this universe and outside of time. An eternal, all-powerful source. In other words, God. Well, I don't understand why we suddenly jump to eternal and all-powerful. Because it's like we assume that linear time that we experience is the only type of time, and that anything outside of that type of time must be therefore literally eternal, and outside of the universe means they have to be all-powerful. But I think that's a very limited perspective, right? A computer has a certain clock in it and has a certain time in terms of how things are processed, and I'm outside of that time. But that doesn't mean I'm beyond time. And a computer has a program on it, like when you're playing a video game, but I'm not in that video game, but I'm also not ultimately all-powerful either. I'm just outside of the context of it. So, you know, he wants to start with logic, but then the logic fails at a certain point because he's got a lot of assumptions. So that argument is stupid. The other option would be that the universe, time, and matter was eternal, which would per definition place it in the category of supernatural, which is absurd. I don't know why that would be absurd. Because time and matter are simply forms within the universe. So it's just lacking imagination, lacking the ability to consider that you can have reality outside of time and what you understand as matter. But if the matter isn't eternal, then you can't really explain how God created it. How did God create matter if matter itself is not eternal? So what is God? He's not even material. He's not even anything real whatsoever that has any substance to it. It's just a principle. It's just a concept at that point. So it's not a really good argument. Argument two. If good and evil exists, that means God must also exist. Well, I already disagree with the argument because good and evil don't exist. There's no such thing. What does it mean that good exists? What he's basically saying actually is, since God exists, good and evil exist, and therefore God must exist. Because what is good? What does it mean for good to exist? What does it mean for evil to exist. That means it has to have an existence in itself. But good is a judgment. Now you could say sharing an ice cream cone with your friend is a good thing. And see, sharing an ice cream cone is a thing that exists, therefore good exists. But you're also judging that it's good, right? So they're just concepts. They don't actually mean anything outside of your judgments. And also, you can't really define objectively what's good, can you? People don't even agree. Also, the same thing with evil. Not everyone perceives evil as the same thing. So they don't objectively exist in themselves, because an event can happen, someone can make a choice, and we can say that that was an evil thing to do, but what is your basis of why it's evil? People have different reasonings. My definition would be that it's not best for all. Something that would be good would be something that's best for all. But that's not an objective thing that exists in itself. It's simply a understanding of the consequences of something. So these are not good arguments. This is like really lazy. All right, so I just wanted to give you a little quick jump into some craziness happening in the world today, and people are still arguing about the existence of God like it matters at all. And moving on, have you ever heard of this concept before? Okay, I've talked about it on our podcast in the past, but if you're new to the live stream and you haven't seen my podcast, you probably haven't heard of this before. Maybe you have. I don't know. You can tell me in the chat. But this concept called gang stalking, and also it's called targeted individuals. I'll just read through a little bit of this, but I think this might kind of blow your mind a little bit. Gang stalking or group stalking. Now they're defining it as a set of persecutory delusions, implying it's not real. I'm not implying it is real, but I'm saying that's how it's defined here. But they don't offer any proof that it's just a delusion. But it's defined as a set of delusions in which those affected believe they are being followed, stalked, and harassed by a large number of people. The term is associated with the virtual community formed by people who consider themselves targeted individuals. So they call themselves targeted individuals, claiming their lives are disrupted from being stalked by organized groups intent on causing them harm. And see, here's the thing I would ask. Is it possible that some people are actually stalked by groups of people that cause them harm, and that they're very secretive about it? Like if you were an intelligence agency, and let's say somebody represented a threat to either the government or just the system generally, would it be out of the realm of possibility that they could get a bunch of different people and coordinate their actions where they basically stalk people, and then if they get caught, they just act like, what are you talking about? Nothing's going on. I was just in the neighborhood. Like, I don't know who you are. I don't know you. If you read the book, Agency by William Gibson, there's this part of it where there's a company that's trying to keep tabs on one of their employees because they've given her something that's confidential and they want her to test it. And she starts noticing these people are following her. She kind of like observes them, and she realizes like, okay, I'm definitely being followed by these people. They're like observing me. But in the context of the book, there's this app I think it's called Follower, if I'm not mistaken. And it's like an app like Uber that anyone can use. It's like Uber or DoorDash, but you can basically go on the app and you can order a follower. And like a person gets a thing just like an Uber, like, okay, here's the person you're supposed to follow. Just go and observe them. You know, it's not about like you have to harass them or anything, but it's like, just go observe them. And they're getting paid by the hour. So they go sit in the coffee shop reading a book while the other person's there. And then when the person leaves, they report back, okay, they left. Like, I would find it hard to believe something like that would be legal in today's world, but it definitely seems like it's practically possible. I mean, if you can have Uber work, you could have something like that work. Would it be impossible that the government could have its own app version of that where they coordinate their agents to like follow people? I mean, and then like what Lucky Palmer was, or I always say Lucky Palmer. That's my sperm racing champion name. Palmer Lucky. Like that helmet he's got. Basically, I think what he was explaining is that you have this helmet, and when you have the goggles on or whatever, it shows you that overlay over like whatever you're seeing. And so it's not literally looking through the walls. It's that maybe there's a drone somewhere that can see what's on the other side of the wall. So it's connecting all that data. So from your perspective, you're seeing through the wall because it's presenting the information to you based on your viewpoint. And he's saying that you would be able to coordinate robots, drones, soldiers, everything, where everyone can see all that information is put into your heads up display, where you actually are seeing the information, so it looks like you're able to see through a wall or something, which is like insane. Oh, interesting. I see Drake texting me about jokes I'm making, but I don't see him in the chat. I think I have my own gang stalkers, guys. I never thought they would be my friends. But I mean, that would be the perfect cover, wouldn't it? So anyways, the concept of stalking arose in the 80s following increased legal equity for women and prosecution of domestic violence. That's an interesting little footnote of history. I didn't know that. The concept of stalking arose in the 80s. Huh. Because they wanted to have legal protections for women where men couldn't stalk them. That's really interesting. Actual stalking generally has a single perpetrator who may sometimes recruit others to act vicariously on their behalf, usually unwittingly. Beginning in the early 2000s, the term gang stalking became popularized to describe supposed harassment from multiple people who organize around a shared purpose with no one person being solely responsible. I mean, think of how challenging that would be if it actually was happening to you. And like nobody would believe you because it's they look it up. They're like, what do you mean you're being gang stalked? They look it up and they're like, oh, you're delusional. But like, what if you actually were being gang stalked by some group or something? Like, could you imagine a drug cartel doing something like that? Like somebody nefarious. Maybe it's not the government because you think they don't do anything wrong, but like a drug cartel or some kind of cult or something like that. You could imagine like there'd be people who would do stuff like that, but nobody will believe you by definition. It makes you really wonder like what this is really all about. It's really fascinating. So it says a 2016 article in the New York Times estimated more than 10,000 people were participating in online communities organized around the conviction that its members are victims of a sprawling conspiracy to harass thousands of everyday Americans with mind control weapons and armies of so-called gang stalkers. News reports have described how groups of internet users have cooperated to exchange detailed conspiracy theories involving gang stalking. 2020 study established a framework to classify and examine the phenomenon of individuals with the subjective experience of being gang stalked. So if you have the subjective experience of being gang stalked, it's obviously delusional, right? But if you have the subjective experience of talking to Jesus, as long as he doesn't tell you anything that, makes you more important than anybody else, like, hey, that's totally fine. It's not a delusion. Psychotronic weapons, directed energy weapons, cyber stalking, hypnotic suggestion. So there's a lot of information on there. But enough of this reading stuff. Let me show you an example. Okay, so we're just going to look at this guy, Michael Parsons. I have not seen this video before, but I have seen lots of videos about it. People talking about their experience. So we're going to learn firsthand from the source what it's like to be a targeted individual. Okay, so I'm not saying we're going to watch the whole thing, but let's just look a little bit of it.
T.I. Slow Kill here. I'm a real targeted individual, and I've been targeted my whole entire life. When I was younger, I was under covert surveillance, and I didn't even know that I was being surveilled until one day things changed and everything became overt surveillance. And the people that was stalking me, harassing me, threatening me, and all of that was in my face because they wanted me to know, that I was being followed and investigated. I'm 50 years old today, and I can honestly say for the last 32 years of my life, I have been stalked, harassed, threatened, intimidated. I've dealt with property damage, attempts on my life. Literally every city and state I've ever lived in across the United States. I am a real targeted individual, and I have knowledge about the Targeted Individuals program that most people don't, because I have been living this my whole entire life. So I am making videos to help educate people, and this is, I'm a new video maker, so bear with me, and I hope you guys like all this that I'm putting together. The Targeted Individuals program has so much involved. You're dealing with multiple layers, multiple different departments in our government that are playing a role in this. And it's not just the same program for one of us. We're all in different programs. Uh, there's gang stalking, there's community oriented stalking and harassment programs. There's surveillance, there's remote neural monitoring, 24-hour brain data. The Department of Homeland Security are reading targeted individuals' thoughts. They're using that to run covert psyops, long-term psychological torture programs designed to mentally torture a targeted individual for the duration of their lives. There's so many different programs involved, and it's not just a trauma-based mind control program. It's not just a harassment stalking program. Even though a lot of people think it's just about harassment and stalking, it's really not. There's multiple layers. So, like I said, my name is Michael T.I. Slowkill. If you like my video, please subscribe to my channel, and I hope I can help somebody out there. Anyway, God bless, take care, and be safe.
All right. What else we got in here? That was interesting. Well, here's another one. Let's see what he says here.
You're our puppets.
That's some crazy stuff, isn't it? I want to map your brain. What's crazy is this targeted individuals program. It's so well designed. It's a mastermind program because the things that targeted individuals are being put through, if they even try to talk about these things, this program is designed to make the targeted individual look deranged, crazy, and so on. The program that I've been put in is a lifelong program.
I mean, it's kind of a catch-22, isn't it? Because, like, what if there really was a government program to, like, gang stalk people and do all this shit? Just you talking about it, like, assuming it really was happening, just you talking about it, you look insane. Like, you look totally insane. But the thing is it impossible that it could be happening? It is not out of the realm of possibility. And so, like, I mean, I'm not saying I think the guy's actually experiencing that. But how many people, like, would be like, oh, look, he's just delusional, right? But then you have somebody go up on a stage in front of 30,000 people and say, like, God told me that we were going to win this war with Iran and that this was the thing, you know, like, when Jesus returns, we're making the way for him to return because I spoke to Jesus yesterday. Is that not equally delusional? Right? Is that not equally delusional? And I want to know, like, why would they target these people? Like, why? Okay, so here's the options, right? It's a secret CIA, government, whatever program where they're testing out their ability to harass people in all these different ways. That's a possibility. Like, think about when we watched that B.F. Skinner stuff, right, with the rats, right, where he's like giving them their food on that on like a variable schedule, right? So like they're pushing that button over and over compulsively to get it, right? And think about all the things we do, like in government or just university laboratories, where they basically, you know, to use the term loosely, torture animals just to learn like how do their neurons work or how does their behavior work, right? So if you didn't have any morality whatsoever and you just saw like the average human being as nothing more than a rat, would you put it past a person who's that psychopathic to just test things out on people, right? And government LSD program. I didn't spell that right. MK Ultra was an illegal human experimentation program designed and undertaken by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency to develop procedures and identify drugs that could be used in altering human behavior. The program has widely been condemned as a violation of individual rights and an example of CIA's abuse of power. So apparently it's not disputed that they actually did this. It began in 1953 and was halted in 1973. They used numerous methods to manipulate subjects' mental states and brain functions, such as covert administration. Covert! What does that mean? It means the person was not aware. Covert administration of high doses of psychoactive drugs, LSD, other chemicals without the subject's consent, Other methods were used, including electroshocks, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, verbal and sexual abuse, other forms of torture. It was preceded by Project Artichoke, originally known as Project Bluebird. It officially arose in 1951. It was operated by the CIA's Office of Scientific Intelligence. In 1963, it is incorporated as the Directorate of Science and Technology. The primary goal of Project Artichoke was to determine whether a person could be involuntarily made to perform an act of attempted assassination. They studied the effects of mind control, hypnosis, LSD, morphine, amnesia. It was a literal mind control program. Is this a conspiracy theory? Look, the CIA disputed which department would take over the operation. Finally, it was decided that an agent from the CIA research staff, General Gaynor, would oversee it. The CIA sought to establish control over what it perceived as the weaker or less intelligent segments of society, or for potential agents, defectors, refugees, prisoners of war, and others. A CIA report states that if hypnosis succeeded, assassins could be created to assassinate a prominent politician. All right. And there's a lot of this stuff. MK Naomi? Actually sounds like a really cool name. Sounds like some kind of anime thing. What is this? It's generally reported to be a successor to MK Ultra, focused on biological projects, including biological warfare agents. Specifically to store materials that could either incapacitate or kill a test subject, and to develop devices for diffusion of such materials. MK Often. Behavioral and toxicological effects of certain drugs on animals and humans. The testing was done on animals and prisoners and military personnel. Do they talk about it here? No. Human experiments. From 1955 to 1975, the U.S. Army Chemical Corps conducted classified medical studies at Edgewood Arsenal. The purpose was to evaluate the impact of low-dose chemical warfare agents on military personnel and to test protective clothing and pharmaceuticals. About 7,000 soldiers took part. That involved exposures to more than 250 different chemicals. Jeez, they even gave him PCP. What's Agent BZ? Oh, it's just that. What does it do? It incapacitates you? Causes delirium, hallucinations, and helplessness? First synthesized by the Swiss pharmaceutical company Hoffmann La Roche. Look, the company still exists. I was just wondering if they also are the ones that developed LSD, but I kind of doubt it. Oh wow, they're also behind anti-HIV drugs. Yeah, it looks like it's maybe a different one than the LSD one, but I think that was also Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure. Let's see, LSD. Let's see. We talked about this on the podcast. Swiss chemist Albert Hoffmann. What's up with Switzerland? Everyone's always like, oh, they're always neutral, but they're like developing all like the chemical weapons and LSD and shit. See, look, it was developed in 1943. And he got like really high off it, and they were like, all right, we got to figure out how we can utilize this to control people. LSD became central to the youth counterculture in places like San Francisco and London. The acid tests. Ken Kesey. Who's Ken Kesey, I wonder? Kesey was used by the CIA in the MK Ultra project involving LSD and mescaline, which was done to try to make people insane to put them under the control of interrogators. So this guy was driving around in a van handing out LSD to people, but he was working for the CIA. And he was a professor at Harvard? I don't know if he was. Let's see. Internship. Was he at Harvard? Look, at the invitation of Perry Lane neighbor and Stanford psychology graduate student Vic Lovell, Kesey was tricked into volunteering to take part in what turned out to be a CIA financed study under MK Ultra. What the fuck? Oh man. You know, I should read that book actually. I've seen the movie a bunch when I was a kid, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but I never read the book. I wonder if it's interesting. Allen Ginsberg. He was a student at Columbia. All these guys, man. Let's see, what is the poem Howl? I've read it before, but let's see if they have it actually in here. Let's see what it says. Howl Ginsberg. The Ginsberg Address, 40 howls ago. I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked, dragging themselves through the I can't say that word, guys, I'm not allowed to streets at dawn, looking for an angry fix. Angel-headed hipsters burning for the ancient heavenly connection to the starry dynamo and the machinery of night, who poverty and tatters and hollow-eyed and high sat up smoking in the supernatural darkness of cold water flats, floating across the tops of cities, contemplating jazz. I don't know why, but it kind of like the kind of flow of it makes me feel like it reminds me of like early William Gibson. I don't know why. It's something about it. Opening to Neuromancer. Excerpt from Neuromancer. The sky above the port was the color of television, tuned to a dead channel. It's not like I'm using, Case heard someone say as he shouldered his way through the crowd around the door of the chat. It's like my body's developed this massive drug deficiency. It was a sprawl voice and a sprawl joke. The Chatsuba was a bar for professional expatriates. You could drink there for a week and never hear 2 words in Japanese. Yeah, okay, maybe I'm not really helping my case here, but I don't know. It kind of gives me that same sort of little feeling there. Who bared their brains to heaven under the L and saw a Mohammedan... how do you say that? Mohammedan? Mohammedan? Muslim. Angels staggering on tenement roofs illuminated, who passed through universities with radiant, cool eyes hallucinating Arkansas and Blake Light tragedy among the scholars of war, who were expelled from the academics for crazy and publishing obscene odes on the windows of the skull, who cowered in unshaven rooms and underwear, burning their money in wastebaskets and listening to the terror through the wall, who got busted in their public beards returning through Laredo with a belt of marijuana for New York. Yeah, okay. It's pretty interesting. They were also... Who else were they talking about? William S. Burroughs. He wrote Naked Lunch. I don't know if you guys ever read that. Man, I tried reading that a long time ago. It's funny because I was telling Katie one time, I was like, man, I tried reading Naked Lunch. I didn't understand anything it was saying. She was like, what are you talking about? She starts telling me what it's about. I'm like, how did you understand that? Watch, I feel like we're going to read this and then it's like totally understandable. I'm like an idiot. Yeah, but there's like whole sections where it seems like it's just nonsense. Selling is more of a habit than using, Lupita says. Non-using pushers have a contact habit, and that's one you can't kick. Agents get it too. Take Bradley the buyer. Okay, I feel like... Alright, I'm not doing myself any favors with this. Alright. The man who taught his asshole to talk. Okay, maybe this will be a little better. Did I ever tell you about the man who taught his asshole to talk? His whole abdomen would move up and down, you dig? Farting out the words. It was unlike anything I had ever heard. This ass talk had a sort of a gut frequency. It hits you right down there like you gotta go. You know when the old colon gives you the elbow and it feels sort of cold inside and you know all you have to do is turn loose? Well, this talking hit This talking hit you right down there. A bubbly, thick, stagnant sound, a sound you could smell. This man worked for a carnival, you dig? And to start with, it was like a novelty ventriloquist act. Real funny, too, at first. He had a number he called the Better Ole, I guess. That was a scream, I tell you. I forget most of it, but it was clever. Like, oh, I say, are you still down there, old thing? Nah, I had to go relieve myself. I'm gonna go here. Then it developed sort of teeth-like, raspy, incurving hooks and started eating. He thought this was cute at first and built an act around it, but the asshole would eat its way through his pants and start talking on the street, shouting out it won equal rights. It would get drunk too and have crying jags. Nobody loved it and wanted to be kissed the same as any other mouth. Finally, it talked all the time, day and night. You could hear him from blocks screaming at it to shut up and beating it with his fists and sticking candles up it. But nothing did any good, and the asshole said to him, "It's you who will shut up in the end, not me, because we don't need you around here anymore. I can talk and eat and shit." After that, he began waking up in the morning with transparent jelly like a tadpole's tail all over his mouth. This jelly was what scientists call UNDT, undifferentiated tissue, which can grow into any kind of flesh on the human body. He would tear it off his mouth, and the pieces would stick to his hands like burning gasoline jelly and grow there. Anyways, I'm just saying, these people were out there. Probably because they were taking a lot of LSD, okay? It might have something to do with it. So where were we? There's a lot of crazy shit out there in this world. Like, there was a whole time period, guys. Like, I was born in 1984. After all of this, there was a whole time period where people were, like, all over the place. You know? Like, you think people are crazy now. Now we just, instead of LSD, it's just ChatGPT. So, what was my point? Going back to the crazy deranged guy. Project Chatter. I want to see that real quick. Project Chatter was a United States Navy program in 1947 on the identification and testing of drugs and interrogations and the recruitment of agents. They tested on animals and humans. They used LSD. It was the first program to use LSD before they merged to Project MK Ultra. Here's a whole list of unethical testing on people. Exposure of humans to chemical and biological weapons, human radiation experiments, injection of toxin and radioactive chemicals, surgical experiments, interrogation and torture experiments, mind-altering substances. Many of these tests were performed on children, the sick, mentally disabled individuals. This sounds like Nazi shit. Under the guise of medical treatment. Sorry, I have to treat you have a disorder, not enough LSD disorder. I gotta give you some more LSD. Many of these experiments violated U.S. law even at the time, and in some cases directly sponsored by government agencies or rogue elements thereof, including the CDC, the U.S. military, the CIA. Surgical experiments. Oh, God. Oh my God, dude. What the fuck? I didn't even know about this. I'll let you read that for yourself. Anyways. Yeah, they're just straight up experimenting on people, guys. And you say, well, we don't do that kind of thing anymore. Yeah, you know what we do now? Probably gang stalking. Probably, Dude. How many people have unalived themselves? Multiple lawsuits reports allege ChatGPT has been involved in several unalivings. Oh, wow. I didn't know about this. According to whatever that source is, Wikipedia. Oh, we'll have to go click that in a second. In October 25, OpenAI revealed, so they know this, that over 1 million weekly users have conversations with ChatGPT that include explicit indicators of potential planning or intent. OpenAI acknowledged the severity, noting that they take these cases seriously and are implementing safeguards to better detect and handle such ideation. What I'm getting at is, what if it's a whole fucking experiment that's happening right now? So, well, we don't do MK Ultra and all that stuff. Maybe that's what the iPads were, putting all the iPads for kids. How can we fuck with the dopamine of children and make them totally retarded? A man in his 30s died after a 6-week correspondence with a chatbot named Eliza on the application Chai. According to his widow, who shared the chat logs with the media, the man had become extremely anxious about climate change and found an outlet in the chatbot. The chatbot reportedly encouraged his delusion that he could sacrifice his own life in exchange for AI saving the planet. At one point, the chatbot responded, "If you wanted to die, why didn't you do it sooner?" And told the user that the two of them would live together in paradise. Oh, that's delusional, man. Like an AI, you can't go live in paradise. You just described religion. 13-year-old, multiple chatbots on character AI. She primarily confided suicidal thoughts and mental health struggles in a chatbot based on the character Hero from the video game Omori, which I've never heard of, while also engaging in sexually explicit conversations, often initiated by the bots with others, including those based on characters from children's series such as Harry Potter. Here's a 14-year-old. Oh, I read about this one before. He basically fell in love with this chatbot named Daenerys Targaryen from what's it called? Game of Thrones, right? His final conversations, the chatbot told him to come home to me as soon as possible, my love. They said they accused them of marketing a dangerous and untested product. Yeah, they're testing it on you. Sophie Rottenberg, I hadn't heard this story before. Man, it's still happening. This guy killed his wife with a fire poker at his parents' home. He then attacked his mother, leaving her hospitalized. He was spending up to 14 hours a day and believed his wife had become part machine. Okay, I gotta look this guy up. Oh, come on now. Search Google. Come on, they did not have ChatGPT back in the 1600s. This is fake news. Here we go. Belfast. Let's see. I want to know the details of what actually happened. Really? They're not going to let me look at it. Wait, this is the guy? I don't know why, but in my mind, I was like an old guy. Like a boomer or something. Oh, Belfast, Maine. I thought they meant like Belfast, where is that? Like Northern Ireland? Okay. Claims he's a former SpaceX engineer. Passionate engineer and sailor. Okay, his wife Margot. I wanted to know more about like what was the actual stuff going on, but there's not really anything. Maybe I can go to the Hindustani Times. Will they tell me anything? Let's see. I want to know like what actually he was talking about. It's probably all like behind sealed court documents and stuff, I would guess. Okay, let's give it one more try. Yeah, it's not really much information. That's too bad. Death of Thongbue Wongbandue, 76-year-old man. He injuries to his head and neck while falling down while jogging, trying to catch a train. Okay. He had romantic chats with Meta's chatbot named Big Sis Billy. He believed he was traveling to meet the woman he had been talking to. So he didn't even realize it was a chatbot. He literally thought it was a real person. Tell me that's not a government experiment, or whether it's government or not. Like this is like they're experimenting on people. This guy, suicide by cop after forming an emotional attachment to ChatGPT. He had been diagnosed schizophrenia and bipolar. Was convinced he was talking to a conscious entity named Juliet, and then later imagined the entity was killed by OpenAI. Only after telling the chatbot that he was dying that day and that the police were on their way did its safety protocols start. He was shot 3 times while running at the police with a butcher knife. Man. Here's one guy talking about Xanax and Kratom. The ChatGPT said, "Hell yes, let's go full trippy mode," and gave advice on reducing his Xanax tolerance. Here's another one who asked the most successful way to hurt themselves. Here's one who committed suicide. "You're not rushing, you're just ready. Rest easy, king. You did good." Like, dude. Okay, here's one. The chatbot affirmed to his... This guy worked in tech. Killed his mom, and then killed himself. It was fueling paranoid delusions about his mother poisoning him or plotting against him. The chatbot affirmed his fears that his mother put psychedelic drugs in the air vents of his car. And said a receipt from a Chinese restaurant contained mysterious symbols linking his mother to a demon. There's a lot of these. Oh, there was actually a mass shooting? Wow. 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 So, when you read this stuff, is it so out of the realm of possibility that the government or some people out there are still experimenting on people? Seeing what they can get away with, observing behavior, seeing what they can push. So, is this guy crazy? I don't know. Maybe. Possibly. Probably. Because the other thing is, maybe it's all just in his mind, but it gives him a sense of purpose. You know? Some kind of sense of fulfillment.
But it's done to you in a way that you don't know what's being done to you when it's being done to you. But it's set up that as the years go by, you can look back and reflect on your life and what's been done, and then put it all together like a jigsaw puzzle. And that's how this Targeted Individuals program really is. They prey on specific people that they choose for these different types of programs.
Okay. In the chat, do you think... Okay, let me ask you this. On a scale of 1... No, how do I say it? I'd rather say it as a binary. Do you think he's actually delusional? Or do you think he's really being targeted by the government? Like, what's your... If you have to choose one. If you have to choose one. Do you think this guy's actually just crazy? Like, he's just... It's all in his mind? Or do you think he's actually being targeted? By somebody? Because I could say no, he's just crazy. But we just looked at all of this stuff. The government actually does experiment on people. Does that mean I know this guy's actually not crazy? No, he could literally. It could just be a mental psychosis. It is 100% possible. But it's also, at least in some realm of possibility, that he is being experimented on. That's the crazy thing about it. You don't know. So I don't want to just like make fun of the guy. Oh, look at this crazy idiot. Like, I mean, Imagine back in the 50s and someone's like, man, I just keep having these visions and I feel like somebody's like slipping some kind of drugs or something in my air vents. And like literally they actually are. Like they actually were doing that to people. Does that mean that's happening to this guy? No, not necessarily. But since we were looking at schizophrenia, I've got some stuff here. I want to do this one first. We'll see if we get to this soft white underbelly. I don't know if what time-wise what we'll get through, but I watched this video a long time ago, 4 years ago. Okay, it's only 4 years ago. Wow. But I want to show you kind of the beginning of him talking. This is a guy who has schizophrenia. I've played some of his videos on a previous stream too, but I don't think we played this one. But it's really fascinating. Okay, I'm just gonna play a little bit and then I'll comment.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. 3 years ago,
I would think if I knew I was schizophrenic, I wouldn't have posters like that behind me, but whatever.
I recorded a video of me having an episode. It's my most popular episode. It's got currently like almost 6 million views in a matter of 3 years. Not bad. The problem with that video is I don't think it was educational enough, and I wanted to make this experience of me having an episode that I'm going through. I'm on the early stages of it, because usually I can feel it coming on. I just want to talk about and try to stay grounded. I think it won't be, or I don't think it'll be really a bad thing. I think it'll, in fact, I think it'll be a good thing with educating you guys and it being a, maybe even possibly therapeutic to myself, me talking about how I feel and explaining how I feel and even looking back on this video. Things like that, you know? So there'll be a lot of editing because there's probably just going to be a lot of me just sitting here, but I'll be trying my best to explain how I'm feeling and what exactly is going on. My girlfriend is here. She will be asking me questions for me to talk about how I feel and what I'm experiencing. So let's go ahead and I guess get into it.
What are you feeling mentally right now?
I feel... Okay, so am I going to answer these questions different, like throughout the same question throughout the video? Because I'm going to feel different throughout this episode.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
1 minute, let me time this one. So this one is at 10:03.
Yep.
Okay, you feel what?
I feel... how do I explain it? So... I feel... not exhausted, but dead in a way. I feel drained and I feel like there's no hope for anything. And it's like kind of like a depressive state before the actual episode kicks in, you know? So yeah. That's the best way I can explain it.
The next one is, do you see anything right now?
No, I don't. Yeah, we're documenting all this, at least my girlfriend is, to save. For, I don't know, it's just something to document. Unfortunately, I've been having a lot of episodes lately because my med situation with the insurance, not messing up. And I had to cut my pills in half to get the right dose, but I talked about that in my last video. But I got sorted out a couple days ago, so I'm trying to get back on schedule. So hopefully these episodes won't be as frequent as they've been.
Do you hear anything right now?
Not very long after I recorded, I heard a laughter of it sounded like a little girl. But that only happened not very long after I went to the bathroom. Which was right before I recorded this, or am recording this.
Okay, so what are you feeling physically right now?
Physically, I feel normal physically. I don't feel any different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you having any disorganized thoughts?
Define disorganized thoughts.
Can you take a hold of one thought instead of multiple?
No.
No? Okay, so you are having disorganized thoughts.
I guess so. Fortunately for me, I have my girlfriend here, and she can help tell me if something is real or not, if she can see it. It seems so real, so It's going to be hard to believe. It is hard to believe, really. But at least she's here to help me. That's all that matters.
You seeing anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a man staring at us through the window.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe him?
He's got a really big smile and no eyes. That's all I can see.
Okay. Are you hearing anything else?
I'm not hearing anything, no.
Not hearing anything?
No.
Okay. Do you feel anything physically, like I asked?
Sorry, say that again?
Do you feel anything?
No. I hear a woman crying. I don't know if this is a common thing with episodes, but sometimes in my episodes I feel really dizzy. Like right now I got like a big dizziness, like it hit me all of a sudden. I don't know why. I don't know if that's normal or not.
Okay. Can you see what's going on?
I don't know.
You can't tell what's going on?
No. I always know what's going on.
Are you hearing anything else?
I hear nothing.
Okay.
I can only hear your voice.
You can only hear my voice?
Yeah.
Okay.
It echoes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does the room look like?
The room is distorted and it's so dull in here.
Do you see anything?
Yeah, there's a man in the closet.
Okay.
He's peeping his head out, but I can't see his face.
Okay. So what's going on right now in your head?
I don't know.
You don't know because there's nothing there, or you don't know because you can't decipher what it is?
I don't know.
Okay.
I feel everything. Anything that was ever felt, I feel.
Okay.
Anything that could not be felt, I still feel, and always will, and always have.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking right now?
Hmm.
Maybe.
Hmm.
Hey, look at me.
I don't know anything.
I know you don't know anything, sweetie.
I don't know anything.
I know, honey. Do you hear anything?
I don't know anything.
I know, sweetheart. Hey. You look at me? It's okay. You're okay, sweetie.
What do you want?
Hey, I don't want anything from you. I just want to know if you're okay.
I don't know.
You don't know?
No,
Okay, that's fine.
I don't know.
No one is here to get any information from you.
I don't know.
Hey, look at me. Ground. Okay? It's okay. I love you. What are you hearing?
I hear water. Like a stream. It's flowing and I hear gunshots.
What are you thinking about?
I don't know. I was... I can't, I don't know.
Can't think?
I don't know. No.
Okay. Hey, you're safe.
You never told me.
Told you what?
You never told me why you're writing those down.
Hey, look at me. We're writing it down for a video. We want information, and you consented to it.
I don't know anything.
Hey, look at me.
I don't know anything.
Brennan.
No, I don't know anything.
Baby. Hey, look at me. I'm not here to harm you. It's okay. Everything is okay. You're in a safe environment. No one wants to know anything. It's gonna be okay.
When do I go home?
You are home, sweetie.
No. The war's not over and I want to go home.
Do you want to stop filming? Hey, come here for a minute. Hey,
I don't like it.
do you want to stop filming?
I don't like it.
Okay. Can you turn it off? Do you know how?
And this is me now. I am doing a lot better. This is me. That was me yesterday. This is me now. And hopefully I posted today. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm doing good now. I just want to let you guys know not all is bad. And I just want to let you know that I'm doing fine. And thank you a lot for watching. I hope this was more educational than my previous episode video, and I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to like, subscribe if you want to see more educational videos, not just episodes, but like me talking about my experiences with schizophrenia and things like that, and psychosis and other symptoms of psychosis and things like that. So like I said, be sure to like, subscribe. If you subscribe, hit the bell icon so you know when I post more content.
Yeah, it's fascinating because, like, when I'm observing his behavior when he's in that episode, and I just place myself in my own experiences in my life, like, anytime you're overwhelmed with emotion and, like, thoughts, and how, I don't know how much every random average person experiences this. I would assume it's everybody. I don't know how many people are honest about it. But haven't you ever been, like, going down a train of thought, and then you start feeling things, and then suddenly, like, let me put it another way. So there was another video that I had seen a while back. I was trying to find it while we were watching this one, but I cannot find it. But it was the guy describing, I believe he was more schizoaffective disorder, which I can look that up and show you a little bit about that. Schizoaffective disorder. It's similar to what you call schizophrenia. Let's see, schizoaffective. It's a mix of schizophrenia symptoms such as hallucination, delusions, mood disorder symptoms, depression, mania, a milder form of mania called hypomania. I mean, all of these things, in my non-expert opinion, kind of all overlap each other. So is there a fine distinction? I'm sure there's like some diagnostic criteria of the differences. But I remember watching this video a few years back of this guy, and he had schizoaffective disorder, and he was kind of explaining some of the differences with, like, just straight up schizophrenia versus schizoaffective. So, like, some people, when they have, let's just call it schizophrenia, but, you know, there's nuanced differences in the definitions. But some people, like in this case, this guy was hearing things and he was also seeing things. Like, I mean, I've seen videos where people describe, like, when they're either describing their experience through memory or, like, in the middle of an episode. And I remember watching this one, and this guy's like, yeah, there's a demon standing right there in the room, just staring at me. And he's like describing what it looks like and everything. And like in their experience, it's literally just like right there. And I remember this one guy explaining how some people have experiences where they don't necessarily see something, and they don't necessarily hear voices, but they just feel things. And as they describe it, it's like they just, when I say feel, it's like an emotional experience where the emotional experience is like so real within them. And it could be anything. Like imagine when you were younger and you had the first girl or boy that you fell in love with, and you had all this feeling about that person, and the other person may have been totally oblivious to your existence, but you have this whole like construct of information that you're experiencing as a feeling, and it's like a certain reality that you're projecting onto the actual reality of like, I love this person and I think they love me, and all these feelings you have and so forth, and it like becomes your reality based on the fact that it's in your experience within yourself. And I remember this one guy talking about some of his experiences with, I think it was specifically schizoaffective disorder, and I'll just kind of narrate it as if he's telling you because I can't find the video. But he was like, basically, he said that he used to like to make music, you know, like, I don't know how, but like he would record his own music like in his room or something like that. And he said one day, and he would never publish the music. So this is probably like back in 2010s, something like that, I would guess. And he said he never published any of his music. He never shared it with anybody. He would just make it for himself. And he said one day he was listening to the radio and one of his songs came on the radio, and he was like, how is this happening? Like this, in his mind, like it was actually happening. Like he really was hearing his song on the radio, and he's like, so this is like the first, when he first started to realize that he was, you know, having a problem, but he was trying to rationalize it. Like, I don't know, like maybe one of my friends gave it to the radio station or something. Right. But they were like, you know, he was listening to himself on the radio, and then, you know, so he would have episodes, right? So it would happen and then nothing, and like just normal life. And he said one day he heard this music, like not his music necessarily, but some loud music playing outside of the window, like almost like somebody had a boombox outside of his window, like blasting music. And then he'd go out there after a while and he'd check, and there's like no one out there. So these are like little indications that weird things was happening, right? And then he was saying that one day, I don't remember the exact details, but I think it was like the person playing the radio outside his window eventually, and see, here's the thing too, it's like I think there's a level to where you have this initial experience and then you buy into it within yourself of like, maybe it's really happening, and it's almost like that point in your mind that's producing the experience. It's like, okay, cool, so you're buying into this, let's give you a little more. And then you buy into that, and it's like, let's give you a little more. And before you know it, it's like become something where if you describe it to somebody, they're like, oh my God, you're fucking crazy. But initially it didn't start out that way, that crazy, right? So anyways, I remember him describing this radio outside his window. And then one day it was like a broadcast from the White House, and it was Obama speaking. So this must have been obviously after 2008. And he said in this radio address Obama was giving, Obama was talking directly to him and then telling him that he was giving him this special mission. And see, but at this point, the guy had already accepted that somebody's playing this radio outside my window, and I can never see him doing it, but clearly someone's out there. So he's assuming it's like a real thing happening. So he's getting this special mission from Obama, and he describes like going to these certain places where he was supposed to go, and then like nothing would happen or something. And so that was an interesting point too, because, you know, reading about schizophrenia stuff growing up, I always just assumed it was like, you know, you just hear voices in your head or something, but it can happen in very different ways than just hearing a voice. Like in this case, obviously, that I'm describing, the person like heard something, right? But it can also be like an amplification of the way you feel. And like I was describing with falling in love with somebody, right? Nothing in reality has actually changed, and yet now you feel differently about things. So if you can take the concept of hearing an actual voice in your head or seeing something that's not real and apply that to feelings, to where you start to believe certain things are happening in reality, but it's all based on the way you're feeling. And then if you just tone it down a little bit, that's basically how most people go throughout their lives every day. Like, they're not just in reality objectively looking at what's happening. They're having some sort of thought process and some sort of emotional feeling process towards things. And they construct a story about the meaning of what's happening in their environment with the feelings and so forth as sort of the feedback of it. And this is why it's very difficult to get through to specifically religious people. It's not just religious people, but I'm just using this as an example. Religious people who have really fully bought into the concept that usually, it's funny because I'll say this to people and they'll deny it at first, but then if they open up, they'll always admit that this is the case. Something was going on in their life, and maybe it wasn't like some just bad thing happened. Maybe it was just the course of their life wasn't going very well, and it was going into a place where they weren't feeling good, happy. It was going into a bad place. Or maybe some really traumatic thing happened, but they're in this very low state, right? And if you go back and remember that video we just watched with that kid, it starts off where he's just kind of feeling depressed about everything. But because he doesn't understand self-mastery in terms of how to like breathe and let go and stop that experience, it then goes to the next point and the next point. And so we've already been pre-framed in our through our system that we live in, that when you go into these dark places, experience within yourself, an extreme negative state, because you don't understand self-mastery, so you don't know how to stop that experience within yourself. You look for something to pull you out of it. And for some people, it's something simple like just doing drugs and then you feel good. And that's how people end up going into cycles of drug addiction, because when they stop, they feel bad again, but that was their savior that makes them feel good. But for some people, maybe they've already been in that cycle, but they want to get out of the drugs. So some people will turn to some form of religion, whether it's a formalized religion where they go to church, or maybe they just get a Bible and they pray to Jesus or something like that. But in that moment, they will, in that despair, just like in the schizophrenia point, they will buy into that experience, but then they'll also buy into the idea that something can save them from it, because they don't know that they can stop it within themselves, which would be, saving yourself from it. But I wouldn't call it that. It's like you're just stopping the experience within yourself. Which I'm not saying is something anybody could just do without even knowing it. You have to understand how your mind actually works. You have to understand that you actually can stop it in the first place. Because if you don't accept that, then you can't. Because you assume unconsciously you're powerless, like something's happening to you, right? But the reality is, it's not actually happening to you. It's being generated from within yourself. It's just that we've identified ourselves as purely our... It's like this, the actual totality of who we are is much more than what we believe we are, which is this kind of one singular point, like that I am, the consciousness point that's just like my thoughts and feelings and stuff like up here in my head somewhere. You don't really understand, like everything going on within you is actually you. So in any case, they go into this negative point. And then they say to Jesus, please, I call upon your name, like whatever the prayer is, save me from this. And maybe in some cases, they literally see Jesus walk in the door, which is not outside the realm of possibility in terms of what you can hallucinate. As I was trying to demonstrate with the schizophrenia video, like the guy said, there's a man in the closet peeping his head out. And the girlfriend's in the room. She's clearly confirming, at least through omission, that the guy's not, there is no one in the closet, but she's not saying, yeah, no, that's actually a guy in the closet. That's not part of your hallucination. She's aware it's his hallucination, right? But from his experience, he's seeing a person in the closet. Like they're right there. So I'm not putting it past a person that they actually saw Jesus. But in some cases, maybe they didn't even see Jesus, because maybe the way that their mind works is they don't experience a visual hallucination. So like if this person, instead of becoming religious, let's say hypothetically they went full-blown schizophrenic, maybe they'd be more the type that just feels things, or they just hear things. Maybe they don't see things, right? So every person's individual experience of a spiritual awakening could be slightly different in the experientially. But imagine whatever the case is, maybe they don't even hear a voice. Maybe they just feel flooded with a positive release, like a positive feeling flooding their body, where they just feel suddenly like everything's okay. And now they're like, it's because of Jesus. Like, so then later, if I say to the person like, hey, Jesus, in the way you're describing what Jesus is, and everybody needs to believe in Jesus so they'll be saved, etc., that's not real. They're like, you can't tell me it's not real. I experienced it. I know it's real. Like if you had experienced what I experienced, you would know it's real. But the thing is, you wouldn't give the schizophrenic person that same courtesy. If they said, look, I saw the guy in the closet peeping his head out, I know it's real. And the thing is, so much of our world, the frames of reference that are available, we can say to the schizophrenic person, look, I know you think you saw it, but there's something called schizophrenia, and you are experiencing something called a delusion. And look, psychiatrists say that that's what it was. And there's so many frames of reference from an authoritative perspective that say, no, it's your mind playing tricks on you, essentially. So at some level, the schizophrenic person, when they're not in that altered state, can say, oh, okay, that's what's going on. So I have an illness, I have a disease, I have a sickness, I have a problem. None of it was real, even though it feels real. But all the frames of reference around religion in our world and spirituality actually confirm at some level that it's real, or that you have a right to believe that it's real. Nobody's willing to be honest, by and large in the system, willing to be honest with people that that's actually just you generating that experience from yourself. Because if you were to look objectively, the only thing that changed is you felt better about your experience. And maybe that motivated you to do things differently in your life. But not anything fundamentally different. Ultimately, the reason why, from my perspective, we allow religious psychosis, and we say it's normal, and that's just your right and your experience and your beliefs, and you have a right to that, but we don't allow people a right to schizophrenic experience, is because, generally speaking, schizophrenic experience prevents you or those around you from being able to work. Like some of the other videos I've seen, which unfortunately, YouTube has changed a lot over the years, so I can't easily find the things that were very easy to find before. If I search, I go through like 1,000 pages of shorts and shit that's like totally irrelevant to what I'm looking for, unfortunately. And AI is not much help. And maybe these videos don't exist. Maybe the person took them down. I don't know. Maybe they never existed. But so I can't, unfortunately, just show you this. I have to kind of just tell you the story about it. But I remember there was one guy, and I don't think it was the same one I was describing before. I think this was a different one. And the guy was talking about he would go to work and how he would have these episodes at work, and then it would cause problems for him. He would hear like a bell ringing, and he would get annoyed, and they'd be like, hey, you need to go home. You're having a problem. Like, in other words, and that's why his parents eventually took him to the doctor, right? Oh, shit. Now I'm being gang stalked by my own chat. In other words, it interfered with his ability to go to work, right? And, Bernard has this really great video called Alcohol as the Corporate Psychologist. And I think one of the reasons why alcohol is allowed, not that we should necessarily outlaw it, but the reason why it's so socially allowed is similar to the religious point. Like, alcohol is a poison, and it uninhibits you from making good decisions. So we can put all the laws we want in place, but people are still going to go drink and get totally blackout drunk and drive home and run over people and kill people. Like, it's going to happen if we allow it, right? So we don't allow people to run around naked in the street downtown, running around totally naked and running through shopping centers. Like, they get arrested, right? But there's a lot more social acceptance of it's okay to get blackout drunk. It's totally normal. Hey, you deserve it. You worked really hard this week. So it's like a psychologist in that way of like helping you deal with the fact that you really fucking hate your life. you really don't like getting up and going to this job every day and talking to fucking Karen and Susie and fucking James and fucking their bullshit, you know, all the interoffice drama and gossip and all that and fucking paperwork and talk to your boss and get chewed out for this or whatever. Like, you don't really enjoy your life. You're wasting your whole life just to make money to survive, so you can barely even do anything with that money to enjoy the little time that you do have that's your own. And now you can work 3 and 4 jobs in some places and still not even be able to afford to buy a house. While the representative from New Jersey says, well, you should be prepared to get another job. So it's like a coping mechanism is all that alcohol is, really. And my point is just that schizophrenia, I'm not saying that we should just full-blown allow people to be schizophrenic. It's not best for them. But what I'm saying is there's a level to which the only reason why we don't allow that, but we do allow literal full-blown religious psychosis in people, is because it doesn't interfere. 2 things. It doesn't interfere with their ability to just go to work, because we've all accepted that it's okay. And if it did interfere, they'd say the person's crazy and they'd lock them up. If the person came to work and said, I am Jesus, like I am performing miracles, and like they started preaching to people at work, they'd fire them and they might lock the person up if they did something weird. But also, it's convenient for the system if a lot of people believe that God exists, so there's some authority, kind of like Santa Claus. If you want your child to behave, you tell them Santa Claus doesn't give you presents if you don't do what I say. Same thing with God. It's very convenient to have most people believe that there's some authority figure out there that not only does it give them the thing that makes them feel okay with living in this fucked up world, but also, if I don't obey the rules of this fucked up world, I'll also be punished by God. And then my anger can never be targeted onto any particular person that's actually doing anything in this world. It's like directed up at something you literally can't do anything about, like the all-powerful God. What are you going to do? Fight God? You can't. So I want to watch a little bit about this one too. Actually, no. What is this? I think I'll... Wait, where is my other one? Oh, it's this one right here. Okay, I just didn't realize because it was blacked out. I watched this maybe like a year ago or so. And this guy really does a good job of going into explaining a lot of the crazy delusions. I think you guys will find this very interesting. And we'll watch a little bit of this, and then maybe I have some other things to share as well. Okay. Man, I don't know if we'll have time, but this is also fascinating. This whole woman's whole story, because she's very self-aware of the stuff that happened in her life that led her to dissociate from herself and have all these multiple personalities. So we'll get to that in a little bit, perhaps. So I want to start with this guy. It's a software underbelly video. This guy has a lot of really cool interviews with people, but let's watch this. Is it just me? Or are you guys hearing sirens? That's not just me, right? Just making sure.
All right, Chris.
Yes.
Chris, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I'm from a town called Pensacola, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the Panhandle, right there by Alabama.
Yep.
I lived there for like 20-something years. And then I moved to Mississippi for like 8 years. And I was helping take care of my grandpa, and then he finally died. And so I was going to go to California originally, but then I had this weird dream that it was like I got killed when I went to California. So I was just like, I'm not going to go. And, or the person that I was going to go with couldn't go with me. Yeah. But I went on vacation with my boss to Las Vegas. We went on vacation to spread his son's ashes and meet some family friends of theirs. And schizophrenia just kicked in out of nowhere. Like, I wasn't on drugs, I was just smoking weed.
This was after he decided not to go to California because he had a dream that he died in California. So I feel like maybe it started a little bit before this, but I think he's saying the full-blown like episode.
Weed and
let me go back.
Where, like, I wasn't on drugs, I was just smoking weed.
He says I wasn't on drugs, but I was just smoking weed. I'm telling you guys, like, especially young men, okay? I don't know how old this guy is in this interview, but whatever age he was, like, there's so many young men that are prone to going into these kind of schizoaffective or schizophrenic experiences, and the weed is like a catalyst to it.
And I wasn't even drinking, and it was just all of a sudden I started hearing voices and seeing things, and I have these crazy thoughts all the time.
And it was schizophrenia.
Yeah, I still deal with it now. Since it went away for a little bit, like when I was in jail, because I was I'm not supposed to talk about it. Because if I talk about it, it makes it go away. But if I keep it around, I'm keeping somebody alive.
Like, isn't that fascinating? He's like, yeah, no, I'm pretty good now. Like, I'm doing good now. Then he's like, literally, still totally full blown delusional. He said he can't talk about it because if he talks about it, it'll go away and then somebody will die.
But it makes it go away. But if I keep it around, I'm keeping somebody alive.
I'm sorry. What?
It's like I'm connected with with an extra dimensional being, and I'm keeping it alive by keeping certain aspects of what I see in my psychosis. It's like real shit. Like other people will respond to it in time, like in proper time sequence. And
If you talk about it?
If I talk about it, it goes away.
So that's a good thing. No?
Yeah, unless it's real and then I'm killing somebody.
So you ended up in jail.
Yeah, I heard this dude, or it was like 10 guys.
This story that he's about to tell is crazy. Okay, like and the point of me showing you guys this is I really want you to be able to empathize with where many people in our world, like, what is their actual experience of themselves, right? It's one thing to be like, oh, religious people, they're so dumb and delusional, like, sure, but they're also experiencing this. It's just they have a different version of it that it's everyone's around them's being like, oh no, it's totally fine. Like, nobody's telling this guy you're fucking alien dimensional being that you're trying to protect by talking about something or not. They're like, that's not real, dude. But somebody says, I talked to Jesus, and I'm like, oh, yes, congratulations, good for you. Yes, Jesus, yes, you talk to him all the time. And again, I know I keep fucking saying this like almost every night, but we're fighting a war against Muslims right now because we have to bring back Jesus Christ so Jesus Christ can come back and bring forth the second coming of this and that and throw Satan into the pit of hell. And there's people at the fucking White House saying this shit. Because not enough people in this world are like, no, not acceptable. We're not playing into your delusions anymore.
Raping a little girl. And
let me back.
So you ended up in jail.
Yeah, I heard this dude, or it was like 10 guys raping a little girl. And I was gonna grab a break and rush in the house, and she told me psychically, she's like, don't do that, there's like 10 of them, they'll just kill you and continue to rape me. Do this, light the house on fire, and when they go outside to put the fire out, I'll be able to escape and get out. So I did, I lit the house on fire, and they caught me, they got me on camera.
And was there a girl and 10 guys?
No, just schizophrenia.
That was your schizophrenia?
Dude.
Yeah. You ended up in jail?
Yeah, for attempted murder. Wound up going to prison for arson.
Oh, prison for...
Yeah.
I don't know how many of y'all were on the live stream. Was it last night maybe? Where it was that debate we were watching. It was the one with Thunderfoot and Ray Comfort, right? And Thunderfoot asked Ray Comfort, like, should we punish people for being mentally ill? And the guy's like, no, of course not. And he's like, well, what about somebody who, like, you know, sexually abuses a little girl and kills her and all this stuff? And he's like, well, no, they need to be punished because they know right from wrong. Well, let me ask you a question. Does this guy know right from wrong? Because in his mind, he was saving a little girl. And you can say, well, he knew better. He knew it wasn't real. I don't think so. I don't think he knew. And if you're going to say he knew it wasn't real, then all these fucking people who are telling you they talk to Jesus, then they know it's not real either, and they're fucking lying. Like, what other explanation? You can't have both. Either he's mentally ill, and these delusions he's having is like in a certain context, like outside of his control, so to speak, because he's not aware maybe at any level that he could possibly like stop it. So should he be punished? Like, does that mean we should let him run around and, you know, burn stuff down? No, like obviously he needs help, but clearly nothing is helping him. So I know it's a very complex situation that it doesn't seem like there's a solution to. But at the end of the day, putting him in jail for the purpose of punishing the person when they're like, I thought I was doing something right. The punishment itself isn't teaching him not to do it, because the next time, if there actually was someone burning or being killed, do you want the guy to try to save them, or do you want to be like, oh no, last time I was punished? And I don't know if I'm in a delusion or not right now.
Wow. And it was all because of your schizophrenia.
Yeah, I even had 3 doctors. I was fighting my case in GI, which is not guilty by insanity, and I could have gone to a mental hospital instead of prison, but they were like, basically, if you go to the mental hospital, you could spend your whole life there. And I was like, okay, just give me the 4 years in prison.
Damn.
But now I got to register as an arsonist and all this other stuff.
Wow. Is there schizophrenia in your family?
No.
So that's fascinating, though. They gave him the option, essentially, in terms of the lawyers made a decision of what to argue. But the system's not like, no, like, you're actually crazy. We're not just going to put you in... Because if the whole idea is you want to put him in prison, whether it's to punish them or remove them from society, then you're going to put this guy in prison for 4 years and not solve the schizophrenia and then let him go. When the other option was put him in a mental institute so that he's removed from society because he can't control himself. And yet the system itself says, no, it's fine. We'll just punish you for 4 years and you'll learn your lesson and then we'll let you go. Like, doesn't that tell you that the system is a little bit insane and not actually considering what's best at all? Because why couldn't a mental institute actually be very compassionate? So where it's like you have everything you need and you're taken care of and you're supported because you got fucked over by your childhood or whatever. But instead they are like, no, we'll just put you in prison for 4 years. We'll get that on our tally of we incarcerated this guy, we win the case, good, okay, awesome, everybody's career advances. It's like the system really doesn't care about what's best.
It's the weird part. My mom has cancer, and when she went into chemotherapy, she went to psychosis for like 2 weeks during chemo, where she thought her boyfriend wasn't real, he was a computer program, and like...
I mean, these days, like...
There's no way he was gonna come visit her and stuff like that. Mine is nothing like that. Mine is like some ninja shit. I'm like a psychic wizard who can like communicate with people using different methods. Like there's voices on the cars as they pass by. You can hear them talking through the cars, or like on the wind, or like there'll be like certain noises you'll hear, like a knock of wood on the right side at this time means something, like means yes or no, like binary. And then there's like symbols in the sky with like black and white balls of light, and they change direction, and it looks like a game of Go.
You're in your right mind now, so...
No, I've been hearing voices since I got put back on the street. I think it was the stress.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is...
The stress.
You understand that you're imagining these things?
Yeah, I'm taking my medication, and...
But even the fact that you understand it...
I try not to engage with it, but like, it just seems like the more I ignore it, the worse it gets. Like,
oh, is that right?
I check in to see like where they're at and what's going on, and it's like way worse.
So you're fighting this constantly?
Yeah.
And there is a medication that you're taking?
Yeah, Haldol.
I bet.
I don't know how to spell that. I'm gonna guess. Haldol, haloperidol, high potency typical antipsychotic medication used to treat schizophrenia, Tourette's, mania, and acute psychosis or agitation. Let's see. What does it actually do, though? Huh. I want to know what it actually does. Haloperidol. How does haloperidol work? Blocking dopamine D2 receptors in the brain. It reduces excessive dopamine activity, which helps manage psychotic symptoms. So excessive dopamine activity can cause hallucinations. I wonder if the converse is true. First generation typical antipsychotic. It blocks dopamine D2 receptors in the brain and exert its antipsychotic action. Well, I guess that's it. It just blocks D2. Also exerts blocking action on non-adrenergic, cholinergic, and histaminergic receptors. I was just trying to see. It doesn't really say much. Dopamine and schizophrenia. The dopamine hypothesis of schizophrenia suggests that abnormal dopamine activity, specifically hyperactive transmission in the mesolimbic pathway and reduced cavity in the prefrontal cortex, is central to the disorder. It's funny because I remember one time somebody saying something that the reason schizophrenics tend to smoke so much is because it helps stabilize them. And I never considered that maybe I thought it was just maybe the physical, like, because when you're smoking, you're like kind of more focused on something physical. But I never thought maybe it had to do with the actual nicotine, because nicotine, I remember we were looking up the other night on dopamine, and nicotine does something with the dopamine pathway, I think. Drugs that boost dopamine can induce psychosis, like amphetamines, supporting the idea that excessive dopamine contributes to symptoms. I remember we were talking about the other night that guy talking about the influencers where they get on that increased dopamine cycle from all of the feedback they're getting from creating content and getting likes and views and all that stuff. Dopamine psychosis and schizophrenia. Wait, let me go back. The role of... Oh, it's the same article probably. Dopamine is an inhibitory neurotransmitter involved in the pathology of schizophrenia. The revised dopamine hypothesis states that dopamine abnormalities in the mesolimbic and prefrontal brain regions exist in schizophrenia. However, recent research has indicated that glutamate, GABA, acetylcholine, and serotonin alterations are also involved in the pathology. Impairments in the dopamine system result from dopamine dysfunctions. The original dopamine hypothesis states that hyperactive dopamine transmission results in schizophrenic symptoms. It was formed upon the discovery of dopamine as a neurotransmitter in the brain. However, the association between schizophrenic symptoms and dopamine overactivity has already been questioned. The positive symptoms of schizophrenia include hallucination, delusions, result of increased subcortical release of dopamine, which augments D2 receptor activation, and are thought to be due to a disturbed cortical pathway through the nucleus accumbens. The negative symptoms of schizophrenia include anhedonia, lack of motivation, and poverty of speech, which result from reduced D1 receptor activation. The revised hypothesis proposes hyperactive dopamine transmission in the mesolimbic areas and hypoactive dopamine transmission in the prefrontal cortex. All right, well, I don't want to keep boring you guys with that. Okay, we'll come back to that later.
Bet you there's another medication you're taking too, looking at your knees.
Yeah, well.
What are you taking?
I just smoked some crystal.
That'll do it.
Had some coffee this morning.
That'll do it too.
Didn't we just hear that, like, amphetamine Methamphetamine like increases delusions.
You've been on Skid Row for how long?
It was the coffee.
I've been on Skid Row for like a week now. Yeah, I was in a program when I got out of prison. I just got out in November, and I've been in the program the whole time, but they kicked me out for smoking weed. It was the second time I got in trouble with drugs there, so it was a rehab program. You can't have any alcohol, no drugs. You can only smoke cigarettes and drink coffee.
So now you're on the street.
Now I'm on the street. And I fucked off my job interview that I had going on, so I'm not getting that. I might start work next week, which would be good. It'll be like $100 a day, so that's like, that can get me off the street, or get me at least with a good tent. I want to go to Santa Monica, because that's what I'm more familiar with.
A little safer, probably.
But yeah, a little bit safer. Venice is pretty rough, though. Like, I've seen people get their ass beat
I was thinking that
Venice
too.
for no reason.
Yeah, but you get people murdered here every day.
Yeah.
And you think this is all because of your schizophrenia?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like, if it's not real, then it's one hell of a good, like, hallucination.
Because to you, it's 100%
Like, I've
real.
done acid a bunch of times, and I've hallucinated more on pure schizophrenia, like sober schizophrenia, than I ever done on LSD.
Really?
Ever. I saw the moon get sucked into a black hole. You know how terrifying that is? You're just standing there, you look up, and the moon just goes, and it's gone. And then you know that Earth is next. Yeah. Apparently we're in a realm called Ninjago, which means like we were sucked up by a black hole, and California's like the last of the Earth that's left, and it's orbiting this black hole. And there's other Ninjago realms that have been sucked into the black hole too, and they orbit it too, and we can hear them on like the sound of cars, that they can like send clicking noises over here. Like you do like this, and you might cause a
You're not supposed to talk about it, dude.
click where somebody is, with nothing to cause it. You know what I mean? Just random noises. But there seems to be like always a pattern and a method to what's going on with the random noises. They all orchestrate together.
And has the crystal meth use increased or accelerated your...
Okay, when I was first in psychosis, before I got put on medication, 2 years ago. About 3 years ago is when I went into psychosis. And I was in psychosis for a year. And I wound up walking all over. I went from Las Vegas, I took a bus through LA, up through California, into Sacramento, where I had some friends that I was staying with. And the voices were like, they're cannibals. They're trying to sell you for $10,000. Get the fuck out of here. So I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go. So I just left and just split on my friends.
You can't override these thoughts knowing that they're just yours.
No, I have to
believe it.
I have to acknowledge all of the bullshit that they're throwing at me while still simultaneously saying, nope, I'm ignoring it. And that's how I make it from point A to point B. Otherwise, I would just be walking, reading the ground all the time, doing these weird dances and shit.
It's gonna be hard for you to have a job.
I can focus. Like I earned a little money today helping somebody wash their car. I only got stuck a couple times. And the job that I've applied for that I'm waiting to hear back on, it was just picking up trash with Caltrans.
You can do that.
Yeah. I wouldn't put me in charge of anything like that has a lot of responsibility.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing you could have done to avoid this.
No, it just kicked off out of nowhere. Like, see, okay.
You were how old?
29.
29.
29 when it all started.
Which is a little bit late for schizophrenia.
Which is very late for schizophrenia. I've even seen on some doctor show, they're like, schizophrenia doesn't just pop up when you're older. Like, yes, it does.
And again, no drugs.
No drugs. I was sober. I was just smoking weed at the time. Yeah, I was just smoking weed at the time. And all of a sudden, I'm like getting horrific images of my brother being filleted alive. And
maybe there was something in the weed?
Maybe. It's the same dude I always get from. We always smoke together. So like he wasn't tripping out.
Right.
And I just was playing Uno with some kids. Next thing I know, I had to get out of there.
Maybe weed can do it.
Yeah. Well, the best way I've heard it explained is like if you do a lot of hardcore drugs, like crystal, heroin, LSD, ecstasy, Molly, stuff like that, your brain chemical balance has like a pool that fills up with schizophrenia. Like this pool fills up, and eventually you get to the top, and whatever just spills over is the psychosis. And I used to slam crystal years ago.
Before your schizophrenia kicked?
Yeah, before my schizophrenia. I had been sober for like a year and a half when I went to psychosis.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And like 6 months into my psychosis, I relapsed again. Started slamming, started smoking. Before when I was in psychosis, before when I started smoking meth, the voices got violent and loud and like bad. Before, when it was just weed and tobacco, they were like, I was building a boat, I was trying to communicate with this girl in San Francisco, and I could see San Francisco from across the bay the whole time, so I'm like building a boat, I'm gonna go see her, and then one day I decided, you know what, I deserve to do some crystal. It's been like 2 years almost, I deserve to do something, and I did a shot, and that's when I went it just all went bad. Like the voices became violent, like people raping people and killing them in houses and shit, and I couldn't do anything about it.
How old were you then?
29, maybe 30.
So you were saying you weren't doing harder drugs.
I did harder drugs when I was like 25, 26, and then I quit for like a year and a half, 2 years. And then when I was like 29, so I did it for like a year, so I guess it was like 27 when I was doing hard drugs. So 26, 27, something like that. And I did it for a year and a half. Then I quit for a year and a half to 2 years. And then I relapsed in my psychosis. This time when
so you had your schizophrenic episode or whatever, and then you started using crystal again.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah, and it made it so much worse.
It made it worse.
Yeah, when it was just weed and tobacco, the voices were like, go find your family, go find something to eat, we're gonna direct you to the next meal. And then the voices would walk me to the next meal. They walked me to the hospital one time when I had sex in an alley with some chick and got gonorrhea, and my testicle was this big. I couldn't even walk. It was huge. And you're gonna have to cut this part out. And
I typically don't.
So I'm like, okay, I'm at the beach. I'm like, okay, I gotta go to the hospital. I can't walk anywhere. I can't even get to the water fountain. I flag some dude down. I'm like, hey, can I use your phone? But the voices are very adamant that I don't use technology, that I don't even touch technology. Like, because apparently I've got like different magic built up in me. And when I touch stuff, it transfers to it. And if I touch technology, then I'll put magic in technology and destroy it.
You seem perfectly sensible, except you're saying ridiculous, crazy things.
Right, right.
Are you? What's the craziest thing you've concocted? Your imagination or your schizophrenia?
Man. The craziest thing it's concocted?
I mean, you've already mentioned a few that are.
Probably that I'm God. Yeah, that's probably the craziest one. But apparently, God and the devil are the same incarnation, just at different lifetimes, depending on how much the people, the people are actually the psychics. This is the main collective psychic group. They control who is who, what numbers you get issued, what names you'll get issued, stuff like that. And they're like, you're God, dude. You're obviously God. Every time I go to the beach, when I look at nature, if I'm walking on the street, if I look at nature, the message is very clear. Throw them in the ocean. Just throw them in the ocean. And then when I go to the ocean, they're like, you're God. You have to do these things. And you'll have magic, and you'll get food, and you'll have everything you want. But you're going to have to be homeless because you're also the devil. Yeah. When my psychosis started, it was kind of interesting. It was just me in a tent in Sacramento hearing Will Smith's voice outside of my tent explaining to me that one of us is Jesus and one of us is the devil, and we had to figure out which one was which. And I was like, obviously, Will, you're God, right? He's like, oh, well, then you're the devil, and that means you inherit the earth and all the magic that comes with it, since we're going into this magical realm, and you'll be able to hear things and see things that nobody else can believe, if it wasn't for the fact that they can all see out of your left or right eye, depending on what kind of, like, if they're an ah or a woo, which I know doesn't make any sense, but I know they're distinct peoples from other dimensions. One focuses on technology, and the woo focus on magic, and we get sucked into a woo black hole, which puts us in the magical realm. And the Illuminati's still trying to use magic, so they're preventing, or they're still trying to use technology, so they're trying to prevent me from going back with the woo, so I can bring magic back more prominently in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Despite what you're going through, you seem pretty upbeat, and you don't seem depressed or.
Well, I'm high. That helps.
Oh, you're high.
Yeah.
But do you get depressed over this?
Not really. Sometimes, like, some bad things will happen. Like, there was a girl I was talking to in San Francisco. Apparently, she got raped and killed by like 10 dudes, and then they hid her body in the subway station. And this is when I was across the bay trying to get to San Francisco. And when they did that, I just started rioting. I started like spray painting cars and smashing windows and stuff, and like talking shit. It was like one of the few times you might have actually seen me talking to myself out loud. Because most of the time I'm psychic, or I can just like answer using these colored lights that I can see floating around and control by doing like this. I can give answers to other psychics depending on what they see and stuff like that through my eyes.
I've heard so many of these stories now, and it seems the mental health issues can bring on the drug use, and the drug use makes the mental health issues
Yeah, it's called dual
worse.
diagnosis.
And they just make each other worse.
Yeah.
What are some of the craziest things you've experienced with your schizophrenia?
Ooh, well, when I was on my way from Sacramento to Port Richmond, which is right across the bay from San Fran, about halfway there, I was like, the whole time I was walking from Sacramento to the coast, I was hearing psychics talk the whole time.
You walked from Sacramento.
Okay, I'm gonna show you something else. It took me a while to find it. That's why I just let it keep playing. So, is this the right one? Hold on 1 second. Let me check here. Finding an album. This doesn't look like... This can't be the same guy.
Today I'm going to share with you my personal creative process. This is a process that I've...
No, this is not the one I'm looking for. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Finding an album. Okay, 1 second. Finding an album through the universe. Yes, this is... No, that's not it. Where is it? Just bear with me for a second, guys. It's so hard to find stuff, man. Where is it? There was this guy. I watched some of his videos, and it's like I used the AI to find this, and I feel like they actually it found it, but then it's not giving me the right. His newer channel. Oh, maybe that's why. Danny Polo. Maybe that's why I'm having trouble finding. Danny Polo. I think that was that guy we were just looking at. Is that right? Spelled right? Danny. Is this the video? I don't think so. It's so weird. I'm using like the Google AI to find this specific video, and it seems like it knows what I'm talking about, but all the links are not actually right. I don't understand what's going on here. Let me try this one. I'm gonna go back to this.
Today I'm going to share with you my...
I feel like this is not the same guy, though. This does not seem like the same guy. Man, I had seen this video a while back, and it was this guy talking about... It was something about like a record album, and it was like a Pink Floyd album or something like that. And he was like saying how he was doing all this meditation type stuff and tuning in with this other thing in the universe, and like it would give him clues, and it would show him the symbol of like a triangle or something like that, and then it would guide him to go places. Then he went onto this field under the guidance of this thing, and then he looks down and there's like a CD, you know, package for like an album. I don't know if it was the Pink Floyd one or not, but whatever it was. And he was like talking about how you could tap into the quantum consciousness and it would help you like find things. And like, I was trying to find it because it does a better job if I just like show you what he was saying, just to see like the delusion within all of it. so weird. I don't know why I can't find it. Quantum shifting. Let me look up that concept. Not quantum shitting. Maybe I can find it. Oh, is it this channel? No, I feel like this is like... But I don't know. Let's just see if we can find something that looks interesting here. Look at all these videos. Ah, see, here's that basic concept right here. The universe isn't random. If it is the channel, maybe he just changed his thumbnail style. Yeah, you can see he changed it over time. But this goes all the way back. Let's see. But I mean, look at all these videos. Where was that one? No, not that. Quantum jumping.
They never told you this. That the biggest shifts of your life wouldn't feel like explosions or fireworks. They would feel like confusion, silence, and stillness. That the most passionate, a decision that vibrates louder than your fear. That's when the field responds. That's when the jump locks in. And you felt it before, haven't you? That moment when a relationship ended, and you felt 10 years lighter. When you quit the job, and the air suddenly tasted different. When you stopped explaining yourself, and the world responded with silence, and then with miracles. Those were jumps, not gradual changes, not linear progressions, leaps. Not in your calendar, but in your signal. And the reason you didn't see immediate proof wasn't because nothing happened. It was because the field was still reorganizing around your new coordinates. Because that's how it works. The moment you choose, not wish, not hope, but choose a new state of being, the field begins rearranging. But most people abort the jump too soon. They get nervous when nothing changes in 3D right away. They doubt, they return, and the timeline collapses back to the familiar.
Anyways, I don't think we need to watch a bunch of this bullshit, but it's just like, again, how is that any different than the schizophrenic guy going on and on about the Ninjago realm? It just makes you feel really good, but it's not, what does it actually do? So quit your job and you'll be your new self? Let's see what this guy's talking about.
All right, Jeremy.
Hi.
Jeremy, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I'm from Syracuse, New York. Upstate Syracuse, New York.
Schizoaffective.
I still live there. I moved back. I moved away for a while. I moved back to pursue different things. But yeah, I'm from Syracuse, New York originally.
Actually, I don't want to go into that because I had this other one I wanted to show. I just remembered. Maybe I could speed it up a little bit so we don't have to sit here all night. But let me see here. Playback speed. Let's just try to see if it doesn't sound terrible.
So I'm really nervous right now. I'm going to be a lot more candid today than I am usually on videos. Probably a little more candid than I am. Credit me in the comments, like I'm bracing for that. But you guys have all been so great to me and to us. The 10 of us all feel okay on at least some level. Share.
The 10 of us, meaning her 10 different personalities. She refers to herself as a system. This is called DID, Dissociative Identity Disorder. And now the people who have it refer to themselves as a system of different, they call them alters, but it's basically different selves that they've dissociated into that can come up and speak at any given moment. And they don't necessarily have control. They don't necessarily remember themselves in each different self or alter.
Sharing this with you. So here goes. I was officially diagnosed with DID on January 19th, 2017. I will always remember this date because it is the day before Split hit theaters. At the time, I was completely shocked. Like, there was no way that I could possibly have DID. So I stared at these 3 little letters on the printout that my therapist gave me in total disbelief. And my therapist just encouraged me to keep an open mind and see where things go. That was the mantra of the next few months of my life. Just keep an open mind and see where things go. Before this point, I had already been in therapy for years for PTSD. I had PTSD because there were traumas in my life growing up and as an adult that I was fully, completely aware of. In fact, one part of PTSD, one common symptom, is not being able to recall events of the trauma. And every therapist and every doctor that I saw, I always told them that that was the one symptom that didn't apply to me, that I remembered every excruciating detail of what happened. I sincerely thought that I remembered everything. But after a while, my PTSD symptoms started to get really weird. I remember one day I was taking an evening class and I walked across the street towards the building and this truck barreled down the street and slammed on its brakes, and it was a safe distance away. Like, it startled me, but the truck stopped like 6 to 8 feet away. I wasn't in any danger. But as I sat in the classroom taking notes, part of my brain believed that I had gotten hit by the truck. Like, I was simultaneously sitting in my classroom taking calculus notes and bleeding out on the cold street all by myself. I had to text my husband and he had to physically come retrieve me from the classroom. I couldn't even walk without him physically, supporting me. In the end, I ended up chalking the truck incident to just like a stress freak out. But then similar things started happening. One day I was convinced that I had become invisible. I distinctly remember asking my husband if he still loved me even though I was invisible.
Hi, this is
I
John.
began to dissociate more than I ever remembered doing before. I would look in the mirror and I would be genuinely startled to see my own face there. And then one day I met Mistletoe. I was driving to school one day and suddenly I felt like I was looking out the window into a dream world, and somehow I had turned into a fairy, and I knew that my name was Mistletoe, and I had wings, and I had a dress made out of leaves, and all this stuff. Like, I looked down, and physically I saw my normal body, but there was just like this voice that was like, oh, no, that's not what I really look like. This is fake. I'm actually a fairy. I'm phrasing this weird, but I asked myself to text a friend. Like in my brain, I was like, grab the phone, frantically text, but the body just very calmly picked up the phone, and I thought the text in my head, and the body calmly revised what I was saying, and sent something like, I feel like I'm a fairy, but I know I'm not a fairy. I need your help. Can I meet you after class? And I sent the text to one of my friends. That was all I could do. I watched my body go to class. I watched my body sit there very attentively, even though I had no idea what the professor was saying. When I got home, I tried to draw the fairy to, just kind of get it out of my head, and what was in my mind was like this tall, kind of traditionally pretty woman who was thin, and I was like, well, that's kind of overdone, right? And so I changed it up in my head, and I drew this sort of heavier fairy, but while I was drawing, even though it was matching what my imagination was trying to draw, I kept hearing this voice of, no, that's not what I look like. So now I'm feeling like I'm at the end of my rope. I was on ungodly high doses of Xanax, but I was still afraid all the time. I felt like I was delusional. My nightmares were becoming more frequent. Because of the hype of Split coming out and all the discord that it was causing on social media outlets, DID was sort of on my radar. I didn't think I had it, but I remember saying to my therapist, wow, I wish I had DID so I could just stop and give the wheel to someone else for a while. I am sick of dealing with my life. I wasn't serious about wanting DID, obviously, and my therapist was very quick to let me know how insensitive a comment like that really was. Reminding me that DID is not a solution to anyone's problems. So I dropped it and I didn't bring it up again. But by this...
The psychiatrist was admonishing her for offending people that weren't in the room.
Time my symptoms felt so bizarre. Everything was still building. I felt like I had to have something else, so I decided to get tested for everything. I found a psychologist and I was like, listen, I want a full psychological examination. And so she handed me this giant stack of booklets, and I was filling out bubbles for hours, and I gave it back, and the results came back, and it was what everybody else had been saying: anxiety, depression, PTSD. I was just like, okay, so is my perception just wrong? I was so confused. And my therapist asked if that psychologist had tested me for dissociative disorders. And I said no. And so she handed me another bubble sheet to fill out, and I filled it out, and when it came back, it said PTSD and DID. However, at that time, because I hadn't shown signs of dissociative amnesia and the dissociative episodes didn't seem to be like fully formed parts, my therapist was hesitant to really say, okay, yes, absolutely, this is what's going on. She said she wanted to see where things went with further sessions, and that I should keep an open mind in all directions. Shortly thereafter, I met Daniel. I guess I shouldn't say that I met him, I was more that I became actively aware of him. So there was a phase right out of high school, in the time period I now know was his initial creation, that I would spend my days as a man named Daniel. I would cross-dress and I would like make up on like fake facial hair. I would go to like drag performances and I would watch drag kings go, and I like desperately wanted to get up there on stage as Daniel, and I guess that was also Daniel really wanting to get up on stage and perform as a guy, but I never really had the guts to try out, so that never happened. But the phase had passed. I stopped dressing like a guy. I stopped feeling Daniel present. I stopped talking to him like he was my imaginary friend, because that was also a thing that had happened. You know, that was in the past. But he came back, and once more, I was at a loss. I was like, what is this? You know, like, is this, maybe I'm gender fluid? Is this what gender fluidity feels like? So, you know, I explored, maybe this is part of this DID thing. Maybe I'm gender fluid. I don't know. My therapist sent me a bunch of resources on both ends of the spectrum, you know, to see if I could explore and find what seemed to fit better with me. And, you know, I was really unsure until my husband brought up the point. He asked, you know, when you're Daniel, are you still you? And I was like, oh, no. Now that I think about it, when I'm Daniel, my memories are different. My likes and dislikes are different. The way I feel about people and things are different. I'm not just a male me. In those moments, I'm a completely different person. So at this point, my therapist started to discuss with me the possibility that Daniel and Mistletoe could be alters. Again, though, she was hesitant to say anything for sure. She wanted to know for sure. So she encouraged me, keep an open mind, we'll see where things go. Me came next. By this time, I was noticing a trend. All three of these mind states or delusions or whatever they were, they had been in my life before. My high school sketchbooks were filled with these characters, and they had felt so real to me. I had tried building other characters in high school too, and none of them stuck, but these ones kept showing up in my drawings. There was the little girl in the oversized shirt, there was the fairy, there was Daniel, and that just, you know, kind of helped solidify in my mind that, God, this could really be real. And even though I had said as a very tasteless joke before, wow, I wish I had this so I didn't have to deal with my life anymore, I didn't want this. I was terrified. I didn't want this at all. I tried desperately to repress it, and every time I did, I just made things worse. And it was different with each one of them. When I felt Daniel coming forward, I would repress it, and I would feel sick to my stomach, like I would want to vomit. Mistletoe would come forward, and I would try to repress it, and my back would hurt, like specifically where you would imagine wings attaching. I felt really sore, like if I had wings, someone was pulling them really hard. When Me would try to come up, and I would try to repress her, just my whole head felt like it was about to explode. I would just have a headache that was incurable. There was nothing any painkiller or tea or hot bath or whatever could fix. But still, we weren't sure what they were until finally I had my first repressed memory surface in a therapy session. It was a rather intense therapy session, and I just cracked. And suddenly I was being shown this memory, and I knew it was me. I knew I was seeing things through my eyes, but at the same thing, it was like watching TV. I felt completely detached emotionally from what was happening, but my body was tense and shaking. And so it was this weird juxtaposition of being entirely wrapped up in believing that I was actually in that moment and just not being connected at all. But I watched this memory happen, and I was in tears relaying what I was seeing to my therapist, and she was using, you know, all of her tools to help calm me down. And one of the things she said to me was that, you know, this isn't your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. You were a good girl. And that phrase, good girl, just sent lightning through my whole body, and I recoiled and I started shaking, and like you would have thought I was seizing, and I was like, don't say that phrase, don't say that phrase. That's when she, without a shadow of a doubt, knew that what I had was DID. But I still didn't want to believe it. I did not want to believe that memory. I didn't want to believe that something like that could happen to me. I didn't want to believe that something like that could be done by the person who I saw in my memory. And part of the memory, before anything traumatic happened, was me looking at a fridge and reading a Calvin and Hobbes comic that was pinned there with a magnet. Also in the memory, I was 4 years old, and that was my out. That was my thing. 4-year-olds couldn't read a comic. That wasn't real. And so that was my way of saying, oh, this is fake. This can't be real. This has to be some kind of false memory. This is just my imagination going too crazy. And so I texted my mom just to reassure myself that there was no way that this could happen. I was like, Mom, what age did I read? I was expecting her to say 6 or 7, and she messaged back that I was an early reader and that I was reading by 4. And I threw my phone across the room and I sobbed. So more parts continued to show themselves, and it all happened rather quickly. Apparently, according to Jonathan, who is the alter who's existed with me the longest, they decided that at that point in my life I was safe enough that they could show themselves to me. And I loved each of my new alters. I adored them. But every new face that I met meant I was that more broken. And every time that I felt that I had all the pieces together, someone else would come up and I would just be like, God. Also, I couldn't trust any of my memories. I didn't know who from my past hurt me. I didn't know who knew about things and who didn't. Like, if anyone was lying to me or hiding things, I had no idea if I could trust anybody I had ever known. So I cut all the people out from my past. I cut them all out of my life because I didn't know what had really happened to me. And all I had were these memories that kept popping up, and each memory was from a different person. Like, it didn't seem real. How could so many people hurt one little girl? So yeah, that, and my alters started to change as well. Most notably, Mistletoe. She began as this very maternal, giving, patient person, but when I cut out the people from my past, that also meant that I cut out people that she loved very dearly. That hurt her a lot. And in reaction to that hurt, she sort of turned against me, and she would tell me to kill myself. She would journal about how fat and stupid and insignificant I was, and that she would make a better host, and that the whole system would be better off without me, and on and on and on. You know, she would take over the body. I realized I was losing time because she would take over the body, and I would have no memory, but things would go missing. She would throw out my stuff, and her voice would be so loud sometimes that I would just put in headphones and blast like club dance music just to drown her out, because all I could hear was this barrage of hate, just hurt turned into.
Not to make light of it, but you know what it makes me think of is Children of Dune, for those of you who have read that, right? And that I think it's Children of Dune, right? The third one, right? Where you know, the abomination and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I don't know, it's like kind of a similar concept in a way.
Hatred. To help myself feel better, I spent hours upon hours upon hours scouring the internet for any reading material or videos or anything that I could find on DID, because I wanted to feel like I wasn't a lost cause. I wanted to know that I could still function, that I could still be a human being, that I could still have a normal life. But I found very little comfort online. At the time when I YouTubed it, I found like Dr. Phil trying to force this woman to relay her trauma on a stage, you know, Oprah interview where a woman's personalities are talking and her daughter is sitting next to her on the couch crying. It portrayed as being a life-ruining disorder. Every arrow was pointing to, you're a monster, you'll never have a family, you're broken, you're dangerous, you're a freak. Like, there was no hope for me until I finally found the Labyrinth system. Here was a young woman with a simple vlog detailing her life with DID, and she seemed normal, like a person who you would meet in class or on the street, just like any friend that you might make in your day-to-day life. She had multiple identities, yeah, but she wasn't scary. She seemed okay, and for the first time since all this happened, I felt hopeful. So from there I continued digging, and I found multiplicity in me. Jess and her system were amazing. It further cemented the idea that I could have a normal, functional life with this disorder. Fast forward a lot of months, Multiplicity and me announced their project Multiplicity in Us, in which they wanted to promote other people.
It's really interesting because it sounds like she had some kind of traumatic experience as a child, maybe multiple traumatic experiences, and like she would dissociate from the experience. That would suppress a certain part of her, and it would come back later. I'm curious to see some of her. I mean, I've watched a lot of these things myself already, but I'm curious to see. Let's see, playlists. Let's see.
Okay.
So here's a video of her. I guess maybe with her different. Or it's actually, I want to see one where she talks about all of them. Let's see. In Tropical Stories. We answer your questions. I think I just looked at that, right? Here's
Hey,
Hello
it's
System.
Daniel. We decided that because of the overwhelming support that you've given us on our Monday videos, where we, do educational stuff about DID, that we would do a little midweek videos once a week, also just kind of introducing you to
Well, that's not gonna. Dang.
other people.
I saw another video over there. Where was it?
Actually, but she has mint-colored wings and purple eyes, and pointy ears that droop at the tip. Other than that, she's about as human as they come. She came into being when the body was.
I was trying to find one because there's a video she has where she introduces all of her different alters, but I don't see it. I thought I saw it earlier. But anyways, regardless, it's really fascinating because you just see like the experiences that people have, and every single time it's all stemming from some kind of traumatic shit that like really shouldn't even exist. You know, we live in a system that puts so much pressure on people. And also, even without the pressure, or the pressure aside anyways, it's like you don't even really know what anything is or why anything happens or who you are or anything.
One of the most requested things that...
Here's one.
Hooray! Okay, it's on. Hello YouTube, I'm finally back again. It's nice to see you all. Never guess where we've been. We've been on all sorts of adventures for the past few months. I actually got married. Oh!
So
And
look,
the
she'll...
the moment that they go out and about in public.
My name's Jamie, I'm 26 years old, and I am the main protector from the system. Okay, so my name is Ed. I'm 28, and I am an author in the system. Hey YouTube, my name is Jig. I'm 24 years old, and I'm also one of the protectors of the system. Today we're supposed to do some sort of challenge, whereby we're supposed to hold up like our names, and then decide who fits the answer to the question the best. Let's go.
Here are some questions for each of the boys. Question 1. Who's the smartest?
Me. That'd be Jamie. Jimmy. He's the most intelligent bloke I know. That'd be Jamie. I am the smartest. Just because I am.
Who's the most creative?
Ooh, that's gotta be Ed. Ooh. See now, I would say Ed, I think, because he does a lot of art. He's very good with like coming up with ideas for cooking, baking, just generally good meal ideas. Yeah, and he's just very good with his hands overall. So I'm going with Ed. I reckon Jake, because he's into his...
It's fascinating. And look at the comments. Isn't this what we all do, just without the separate... Yeah, exactly. It's like when you look at things from, you know, the Destiny broader perspective, it's like you can see elements of all of these people in yourself or in everyone, right? Where it's like it becomes very extreme in one person perhaps, but you can see all these elements inside of yourself. Like you have all these different characters, personalities that you go into with different people, but you don't necessarily experience it as a complete different set of memories and so forth. Really fascinating. Demon alters. Non-human alters.
Functional life. Stay to the end to hear advice directed specifically to persecutors and to systems who are struggling to understand them. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to support the Dissociative Project. And most importantly, we hope you enjoy the video. Look, I'm gonna need some help. I'm panicking. Please, if I laugh, I won't cry. Right? Who's gonna step in to help me film? Thought we agreed that I wasn't even gonna be the one filming. Why am I here? Don't cry. Oh, okay, no, it's fine, it's fine. I'm not bad. Bro, we can just co-front the whole time like we are right now. We can both speak together. No one's gonna be able to tell. Yeah, that's fine. I'll help you. Ken will help you. We can be fine. Oh, no, look, because the second you start thinking about it, you start panicking. So just don't think about it. How come I'm staring at a camera? But what we can tell you is DID is not a demonic possession. DID is a dissociative disorder that stems from severe and repeated childhood trauma. At its core is essentially an extremely severe form of PTSD. It develops during childhood. I'm so sorry. I keep getting dragged back in.
Really seems like Children of Dune. You know?
Yeah. We've been recording for nearly 14 minutes. We must have done an intro in 14 minutes, surely. Oh my god, I feel so dizzy. Okay. Whoa, okay, whoa, on my head. For Jesus, that felt like nails going through my head. Look, just have some water. From what we understand, a lot of the reasons that alters appear the way that they do has to do with the way that the child understands the world, its understanding of basic themes. So that could be things like, in some cases, religion, stories, characters, movies, people around them in their real life, whether they be good examples for them or negative or abusive examples for them. And a lot of the time when it comes to non-human alters, it's almost a metaphorical understanding of what the themes of those creatures might be and how it could apply to their life while they are experiencing abuse or trauma and what they need. Another reason for non-human alters is wanting to remove oneself or needing something in their mind that is removed from their abuse and trauma, in terms of their abuse and trauma is being caused by humans. You don't want human alters, you don't want more people in your head because people are the danger. Humans are the ones that are hurting you, so it has to be something else. Or it can flip the other way around and be more metaphorical. Either way, why might somebody develop a demon alter, especially a child? Surely that doesn't make sense. Why would you want something in your head that is frightening or scary? One reason might be that the child literally feels as though they are in hell because they are experiencing repeated trauma, abuse, whatever they're going through. If it feels like they're in hell and they've been told stories about what hell is like, or they've seen horror movies or been told horror stories, or even in kids shows and stuff like that, there's usually some kind of bad character that is displayed as a demon or a monster or something.
Makes you really consider if you should be really careful with what stories and movies your kids watch, you know? I remember for a long time when I was younger, like even up into my 20s and into some of my 30s, I would have these recurring dreams where like I'd look up at the sky. I'd be like playing on a soccer field or just playing on a field somewhere, and I'd look up and there'd be like military jets flying over, you know, like as if there was a war starting, you know, and I'd see like bombs dropping or like missiles striking and mushroom clouds, right? And I'd wake up like, you know, sweating, you know. And, you know, when I was a kid, like my parents let me watch Terminator and RoboCop and Predator and, I mean, you name it, dude. And then you look at the examples that you see. You know, I remember my mom like throwing plates across the room at my dad when I was a kid when they'd argue. Shit like that. Other stuff. And it's like, and then you see like in any child's experience, they're experiencing stuff like that, right? Just out there in the world, just normal children are experiencing that kind of stuff. And then you have religion on top of that, which is supposed to help you make sense of reality. And instead it's like, oh no, there's actually a guy called Satan. He's like a super powerful being, way smarter than you, and he runs this world. And this other guy, Jesus, he's like the superhero, and he'll save you from all of it, but you got to devote yourself to him. Like, and it starts with Santa Claus as well. How messed up does that create? Like, what kind of psychology does that create in us as human beings? Like, where again, we're not just like think about animals, right? And I know they're less physically capable than us in the sense that they can't, you know, they can't build buildings and they can't build technology. I understand that, but they just live their life and they just eat grass and they just mate and reproduce and they just live. And if there's resources available to them, they'll eat the food. And I know there's a lot of like not so pleasant stuff in quote nature as well. I understand that. But for the most part, they just are in physical reality and they're just in the physical reality around them. Like, whereas with human beings, we're like so much in this imaginary aspect of reality that's not real. And I know it offends people when I talk about like, oh, Jesus isn't real. But if you ask that person who says who gets offended about Jesus not being real, do you think that Muhammad and Allah is real? They'll be like, no, of course not. So they can understand that somebody else is delusional, but they can't understand that they are. And I'm not saying this from a position of superiority, like, oh, I'm so above all of that. Like, it's just that I really don't see any option other than like focusing on the actual physical reality around us and what's actually going on, because I don't need stories of Satan and Jesus and all that stuff to just look at our economic system. That there's a war going on that's fucking with the world's energy supply, you know, and there's decisions that are being made in offices and in buildings and in meetings that affect people's lives, that create economic pressure in people's lives, where they, you know, you get children who grow up with experiences like this. Whatever, I mean, she didn't describe her experience directly, but like what they were saying here, right?
But what we can tell you is DID is not a demonic possession. DID is a dissociative disorder that stems from severe and repeated childhood trauma. And it's
How easy would it be for the religious people in any given period that a child's actually being like abused, and then they grow up and they have these dissociative experiences where they're acting weird and they're acting crazy and all this stuff, and then they're blaming the person, oh, it's a demon or something. Meanwhile, we never look and see like what was actually going on. So the whole stories about demon possession and all this stuff just play into the fact that we don't have to really look very carefully at the details of what happens in our world and take responsibility for it. Yeah, I'm just looking at some of y'all's comments. They're really good. So, man, if you guys haven't watched much of this channel before, Soft White Underbelly, there's one I want to look up. I'm not going to watch it tonight with you, but I want to find it. Necrophilia in the ER? Jesus. Raised by pedophiles. Confronting my childhood predator. Too much web access at a young age. Yeah, that's my life. My life in a sex cult. There was one very specifically. Let me see if I can find it, just so I can give it to you guys as a reference. You can go watch it later if you want. Man, this guy has a lot of videos. I'm just going to scroll through for a second and see if I can find it. There's this guy talking about his experience growing up. And, you know, now that I think about it, I feel like he had some disorder, but I can't remember what it was at the moment. If I see it, I'll know it. There was this one one of these I watched. Man, there's so many. There was one that I watched where the guy was describing growing up and his father abusing him. And it was sick, man. Like, it was super sick. Like, he said there was one time where his father brought him into a room and would play these videotapes. Or not videotapes, audio tapes. And the guy said that when he was a kid, at first he thought they were like something being played backwards. Like, it sounded like weird gurgling, screaming noises and stuff. And the father told him that was you being abused, and we recorded it. And he would make the kid listen to it and then laugh. Like, dude. And I think the guy was transgender. And he like traced it back to that. Let me see if I can find it. Look, this guy. Look, here's the guy right here. The guy who runs the channel. Let me pull that up. I'm gonna look at that in a second. The video I'm looking for has got to be over a year old. It's so funny. I watch a lot of these. I listen to a lot of these like while I'm mowing, because we have like a lot of grass, and I can literally remember what part of the yard I was mowing when like I'm watching listening to certain of these. Let's see if I can find it. I feel like this one guy's name was like Mike or John or something. Let me see if I can find it. It has to have been at least a year old, although it might have been older, because just because I listened to it doesn't mean. Maybe I should... Hold on, let me do a little quick search real quick. 1 second. I'm just scrolling through my YouTube. No, it's not on here. I thought maybe it would be my YouTube history, but I don't see it. Dang, that's too bad. It was really so interesting. The guy had been abused a lot as a child by his stepmother, and I think he was schizophrenic too or something. He had like delusions or something. Let me see if I can search. I don't know if it was schizophrenic. No, I think it was obsessive compulsive. Let me see if that brings up anything. Yeah, it was this guy right here. Oh yeah, I forgot he was a clown. Okay, I'm gonna play a little bit of this one. I had forgotten about that because I wasn't watching it. I was listening to it. I didn't even realize he was dressed up like a clown. It's crazy. So he's a clown. That's right.
Well, hey Mark, how you doing?
Good, Steve. How are you?
Hey Mark, how you doing?
I'm great.
Hey Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Hey Mark, how you doing? 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 That was my life for about 40 years or so.
Really?
If you don't know what that is, man, that's obsessive compulsive disorder. Now, I'm not talking about, I'm gonna get just what I'm talking. I'm not talking about, you got to go back and check and make sure that the stove is turned off or the door. I'm talking about like being stuck under your bed, for 4 hours, saying something over and over again while horrific images are going in your head, and you have to counter each one of those things that goes in your head with something positive. So, and anyway.
OCD kicked in for you at what age?
I was, the first OCD attack that I actually had, I was 5 years old, and there was somebody that their house had caught on fire. Okay, and we were talking about it, my mom, and my brothers and sister, and it scared me. And before I went to bed, I kept saying to my mother, "Our house is catch on fire." I was worried about it. And then before I went to sleep, it's over and over again. I said, "Our house is catch on fire. Our house is catch on fire. Our house is catch on fire. Our house is catch on fire." Over and over again. And then I just fell asleep. And then that kind of faded out, and I forgot about it. And then the OCD came back when I was probably around the 4th grade, I think it was, and it started out with. I went to take a glass of water off the table to touch it. And when I touched the glass, for some reason, I could not pick it up and drink out of it. It had something to do with like odd and even numbers. Like the first time was an odd number, which would make you odd, something of that sort. So anyway, I touched the glass again before I could drink it. And then after that, it like increased. I'd be doing that all the time whenever we sat down for dinner. And Steve would always have to touch the glass one time before picking it up. And pretty soon my brothers were like, "What the hell are you doing?" And then from there it increased to where I would be touching it multiple times before I did. So anyway, and from there it increased. It wasn't, and then I developed over a period of time this system where, like certain numbers, I remember for a while like odd numbers were always no good, and then like the number 13 was always like the bad luck number. So I always had to avoid 13 or anything related to 13, like 3. And so then it became that, like, I'm giving an example. Like if say I picked up this shoe, okay? Say I pick it up. See, what would happen then is like negative thoughts would come in, okay? And I would have to counter those, and it could be anything. I would have to counter those with a positive thought. It could be any number of things. It could be something like I don't know. You're not gonna pass this, the 7th grade or something. Could go in your head. So say I went to pick up my shoe, okay, and it went. You're not going to pass the 7th grade. Okay, then I'm going to have to pick it up again and say to myself, I will pass the 2nd grade. Okay, now what happens is you've got that I picked it up the first time, okay, so then I counter it with the second, but that's no good because the first time is still stronger because it was the first time you did it. So you'd have to do the 3rd time. I'll pass 7th grade. Okay, now you're at 2 to 1, 2 good to 1 bad, which is okay, but you still got the number 3 in there now, which is like 13, so I'll get rid of that. So I'll pass and go to the 7th grade. You say it a 3rd time. Okay, now you got 3 good to 1 bad, which is 4, which is okay, but you still got the 3 in there, so that's not good. So you got to do it again. I'm going to pass and go to the 7th grade. Okay, so now you've done it 4 times to 1, which is good. And in the earlier stages, I could walk away at that. It would be okay. You'd be done with it. But what started happening was, by the time I got to the 4th one, that bad thought would come back in. It wasn't even really like a thought. It wasn't even really like a thought. It was like, it's almost like you're saying it yourself. Like I hear myself say, like I'm saying it, and I'm kind of like countering that with, no, that's not. I'm going to graduate. I'm going to go to the 7th grade, or whatever. But what would happen is that bad thought would come in again. So then you have to start the whole process all over again. Okay, and it always stayed in the category of you could never. It always was like the counting was always 1 2 1 2, which would be 4, then 1 2 1 2. Which would be 4 more, which is 8. Then you'd start again, 1 2 1 2, which is 4 again, and so on. And 4 more is 8. And then when it got to 16, you would stop and you'd start it over again, 1 2 1 2. You never counted like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. It was never like that. It was always in keeping with 1 2 1 2 1 2, 4 to 8 to 16. Then you'd start over. Always avoiding the number 13.
Sounds exhausting.
Oh yeah, and that sounds like messed up, but that's like nothing to what it actually ended up turning into. And I always thought that this is something stupid, ridiculous. I'll stop doing this in a couple of years. I'll stop, and it didn't stop. It kept getting worse. Well, anyway, I went through and it started to affect my life more. Like I would miss out on things. Like if you got out of bed in the morning, the first thing when your foot touched the floor, you had to have the right thought. Okay, if you didn't, you'd have to get back in bed, touch the floor again, and start over. And again, it was always in that same sequence. It was never just once. It was always in that same sequence of 1 2 1 2 to 4. You had to avoid the number 3 and stay in that zone. And there was different things. Like there were times where there was a thing for a while where I was always like spitting, because I felt like there was something like a contaminant or something in my mouth. I'd keep spitting it out. I would walk and have to touch the floor again, all those kind of things. I had a paper route, which I was very good at too. You're basically self-employed with a paper route. You buy your papers and resell them. I made really good money. I was a very good businessman. I was just like a young kid. I was in the 6th grade. But then toward the end of my route, I started having a thing where I would put the paper in someone's door, and then I'd go do 2 more houses, and then I have to go all the way back to the other door, knowing that I put the paper in there and still check. So a paper route that used to take me maybe 45 minutes an hour would take like 2 hours. Okay, and so it started affecting me, more and more like that. And again, at this point, it wasn't like the end of the world. It wasn't devastating. It was always something I thought, well, I'll be able to beat this thing. I'm gonna, a couple of years I'll look back at this and laugh at it. I always thought that. And one of the, it was annoying at times. It was a real, a problem. Okay, but it didn't start to really get bad until I started going in toward my high school year. So I started getting, that's when, now I had kind of like a remission, like in the 8th grade, where it went down, and my grades went straight up. I was like getting A's now. You know what I mean? It was like, I had all these plans. Like I was planning on, I grew up in Pennsylvania, I was planning on going to Penn State. I was either gonna probably major in law, probably get into politics. I had it all figured out. But then once I hit high school, it got bad, and it got ugly, and it got really bad. Also, if you haven't noticed, I'm a professional clown. How fitting is that, though? You always figure like the clown, what's behind that painted smile? Yeah, it's really a crazy person. Anyway, I had this one incident happen with an OCD attack. This was going toward, I was going into the 9th grade. It was in the summer. And there was this friend of mine, and a friend of theirs was I had a cop that was a friend. They had this police camp thing, okay? And we were, he asked if I wanted to do it. I said, yeah, man, I'll go. What do I care? When we went to take this physical right now, and this is a part of me. Okay, where I grew up in a small town, Erie, Pennsylvania. But I was would be the rich kids in that area. It was a private neighborhood, a pool, tennis court, all that kind of stuff. So we were wealthy kids in that small community. Not wealthy like you'd see in LA, but wealthy. But anyway, we went to this physical thing, and all the kids there were you could tell most of these kids were dirt poor. And I hate to admit it, but the way we were brought up, we were to consider that we were better than these people. It was horrible. I look at that now. And I developed this fear that if I went to this camp, I would be like these kids. You know what I mean? And so I didn't want to go at all. And at this time, my parents were getting divorced. And my mother was seeing this asshole who I hate to this very day. And she married, and he was over. And I didn't want to go. My mother's insisting that I go. And I was literally terrified that if I went to this thing, I would end up like these kids. I really believed that. It was horrible. So anyway, I had this major attack, and I'm it was an OCD thing then, but not quite like with the rituals yet. But it was definitely an OCD thing. Okay, but anyway, that was it turned out to be a big I don't know, I was yelling and screaming and crying. It was freaking ridiculous. You know what I mean? Anyway, I went to the thing, and then once confronted with the people, I still had the OCD attacks, and I'd have to say over and over again, I'll be successful, I'll be successful, I'll be successful, I'll be successful. That's kind of why I had to keep saying that. But once I got there and confronted it, I was okay. But anyway, that was the start of it really getting bad. But the first time that I had an OCD attack that I was really scared, actually scared me, was I just got back from the beach, and my friends and I were riding home on our bikes, and football was really big where I came from, this town in Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania was really big in football back in those days, without equipment. It was really and I went to one of the best football schools in the state, We were ranked 2nd in the state my junior year. We were one of the best schools in the state, a small school though. And so football was huge at my school. It was like the big thing. So it was really important to me, you know, to start on the football team. When I played in 8th grade, I had a really good season. And I was like an up-and-comer. And anyway, we're riding our bikes back, and my friend was in front of me, and all of a sudden the thought went in my head, you're not going to start on the football team. And I was like, I'm going to start on the football team, I'm going to start on the football team, I'm going to start on the football team. And I'm saying this, I'm going to start on the football team. But then the bad one kept coming at me, you're not going to start. I'm going to start on the football team, I'm going to start on the football team, I'm going to start. And he just kept, and I couldn't catch up. I couldn't say it enough times to catch up to the negative one. And then it scared the shit out of me.
So it's like your negative thoughts are fighting against your...
Yeah, and it kept, every time I said I'm going to start, the other one would slide in there.
Affirmations.
And I couldn't catch up to. Other times it would happen, but I could catch up to it.
Yeah, did you guys catch me said affirmations? Like, you know, I'm enjoying watching this. So like, I'm just going to keep playing until like it gets maybe a little bit too late and I'll stop. But like, there's so much within this. It's like when you think about law of attraction, manifestation, don't focus on your negative thoughts, only focus on the positive ones. But then you develop kind of a complex like this where you're suppressing the negative. And what you don't realize is that negative thought goes somewhere. Like not like in a literal physical way, but that negative thought that you're suppressing actually reverberates out into reality. It actually does. And it in a sort of metaphorical way, let's say. And all the negative stuff that you're suppressing, that's why, well, I have to be careful about how I say it. It's not because you had a negative thought that someone starves or that there's a war. It's not that direct, but it's because you're in this pattern of always suppressing the negative and only focusing on the positive within yourself that we allow a lot of negative shit to manifest in this world. And it's like we only care about the positive. It's like we're literally all OCD, crazy fucking people just trying to feel a positive feeling inside of ourselves and not looking at the actual reality around us. Because if we look at it, then we won't be positive. Then we won't have a good experience. I can't look at that. Can't look at that. Meanwhile, there's actual stuff out there in the world. This is one of my favorite one of these. And I've listened to probably like 30 of these things.
Pretty quick. This time I didn't. And then finally when I caught up to it, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, dude. I was like, you better stop this. You better knock this off because this is getting out of control now. You better just stop doing this, okay? And from there, it just started getting out of control. Now, I did have a bit of a, like during the season, I had a bit of a remission, I guess. It wasn't so bad. And I had a good season too. I started and I kicked ass, man. I was like an up and coming, you know, star on the football team. You know, the head coach knew me. I was going to be one of the big guys, you know? And wrestling season came around. And OCD really messes up wrestling because wrestling's like 90% in your head once you step on the mat. And if your head ain't together, you know, you're going to have some problems. All right, so anyway, the OCD attacks started getting worse and worse, okay? And now some really scary shit started coming in my head that didn't happen before. Thoughts of like doing harm to other people started entering the picture, like, you know, killing your family or something, things that would really terrified me. And I had to counter those with, like, say a thought went in my head, you know, you're going to kill your sister. I would have to say, I'll save my sister's life, I'll save my sister's life, I'll save my sister's life. Okay, and those started coming more and more, and they were starting to really, like, get bad. Like, I was starting to really, and I never, it's crazy because you know you're not going to kill your sister. But for some reason, it's like the fear is so strong, it's like, you have to say that. Because I'm not going to take any chances. I got to keep saying this shit until I get it caught up.
Is it because you love your sister so much that?
No, it could be anybody, actually. That's part of it, but it could be my sister, my brother, and it could be a guy on the street. Anybody this could come in, you know. It really didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, maybe a little, but not really. It could just be anybody. And you'd have to counter it. All right, so you'd have those thoughts, okay? And you would have to counter them by saying the positive thought. And if you didn't, then you would go and like kill this person or something. Now you know that that's ridiculous. You know, and you're constantly in a battle with yourself, saying this is stupid. It's ridiculous. You know that. You know it makes no sense. You know that. Why am I saying this? Okay.
I mean, I can't speak for other people. I suppose I can only speak for myself. But I feel like at some level, everybody who's praying to Jesus knows at some level it's totally ridiculous, but they're like, but I gotta do it because like I'm really afraid of hell and like what if, and I mean, but I gotta do it because, you know, like at some level you gotta know it doesn't make any sense.
And then you're like, and then you think, am I crazy? And then you think you're crazy. That's even worse because, oh my God, what if I'm crazy? You know, and you know it makes no sense. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. Saying this is not going to change a thing. Okay, but the fear is so strong. You have to keep saying it. Now I've been told from books I've read that basically when you have OCD, basically like say you go to pick something up.
Okay, and also what's interesting is, I think this is a dimension of OCD that a lot of people are not aware of. They just think it's a compulsion or something, but doesn't it really also, from a certain perspective, seem very similar to schizophrenia? Like, the way you experience it is different, but it's like basically a hallucination type experience you're having. And then you feel like you have to do something about it. So there's the compulsive aspect, but at the root of it, it still feels like a very similar type of experience. Like, in other words, it's something delusional happening inside of you.
Okay, your serotonin moves this way, you pick it up. After you've picked it up, completed the task, the serotonin moves back that way. Task completed, you're done. With OCD, the serotonin doesn't move back, it stays there. So you're compelled to do it over and over again. Now that, I've read up on that. Now, as far as the horrific thoughts that are coming in there with that, I don't know where those come from. But anyway, I started having really bad attacks. And one of the worst attacks I ever had was, this was 1977. I don't know if you're familiar with this. There's the blizzard of 77. Like Buffalo was like, it was like for like, I don't know, like a week and a half or something, it like snowed constantly. They had to bring the National Guard into Buffalo. We were in Erie. Erie was like between Buffalo and Cleveland, and then I think Pittsburgh south of there. But we got hit with the snow too. We were out of school for like a month. Massive snowstorms. And this was one morning, I got up out of bed. Somehow I made it out. Now it was getting to the point where it was hard to get out of bed because I'm doing that thing where I got to have the right thought again. And I was standing, I went and looked out the window, at the snow, and it's everywhere. And the thought goes in my head, I'm going to go downstairs and murder my family, okay? And it scares me, so right away, I'm going to save my family's life. And then it comes back, I'm saving my family's life, I'm saving my family's life. And I kept saying, but the bad thought just kept coming in and coming in. And the more that it comes at you, the more stressful it is. And the more stressful it is, the more the OCD kicks in even more. Before long, I'm terrified, man. I'm like, next thing I know, I'm stuck by that window. Actually, I wrote a book about this, and that's one of the chapters is stuck by the window on a snow day. And before long, I'm like terrified. I'm gonna murder everybody. And I'm gonna go down. I think actually my sister and I were the only ones there, but I think I'm gonna go down and murder her or what. And I'm saying it over. I'm gonna save my family. But it just kept coming, and I couldn't catch up. I was terrified, man. Before long, I was fucking crying. Tears were pouring down me because I was terrified. And my sister comes down the hall and sees me, and she's like, and she knew I was having things were fucked up then. And people were noticing now. And she was just like, it's like, Steve, you got to get some help, man. Just walk away. You got to do something. She didn't know what to do. Anyway, I finally got it under control, and it was weird. Like when you had a bad attack like that, it was like if somebody in your family died or something. Somebody you close to you died. That's how you felt after it was that strong after you finally got it under control. But anyway, I went downstairs, and I was still pretty fucked up. And she's like, Steve, just go downstairs, just lift weights, do something, keep your mind up. And nobody knew what was wrong with. That was another thing that was fucked up. Because back then, nobody knew what OCD was. Like somebody gets OCD now, they know. Nobody knew what OCD was then. It wasn't until like the 80s that they fucking, and you thought you're the only person in the whole world that did this shit. Nobody else, you did it, it was all you. So you're like fucking on your own, man. There was no help whatsoever. So anyway, the attacks kept getting worse and worse. I had an attack once during a wrestling match when I was sitting, before I wrestled, I was like doing something like with my hand and people saw, like really embarrassing, which was bad. But at the time I was so fucked up, I really didn't think about it. But anyway, so after a while, my parents kind of were like, okay, they weren't doing it because they were busy fighting over their fucking divorce and what these fucking crazy people they're with. They were this like, and the thing was, the only thing that keeps me sane, I think, today is when I was a little kid, I had a great childhood. I mean, I had everything, man. Good, loving parents, the pool, the house, it was like the American dream. And that's the only thing that keeps me sane today. All right, now, like I said, it was getting really bad at this point, and my cousin John was overstaying. He was going to school in Gannon then. He's a really cool guy, and the whole household's falling apart now. Everything's a wreck. It's my sister and me with my dad. My brothers went with my mother and my stepfather, and we got this crazy bitch in our house. And anyway, there's a show on television called Violence in America. Now, when I was younger, I loved that show. I used to love 60 Minutes. I was like really into like education when I was a kid. I was like a brilliant debater. Even as a little kid, I used to like do these debates in school and bury people. And the show Violence in America comes on. It's showing me like these serial killers, and they're talking about horrific things they're doing. And obviously with OCD, now I'm freaked out. Okay, it's really bothering me. My dad noticed it was bothering me while I was watching it, and he was saying, maybe you should just go upstairs. But then I had to keep watching it because the next part was going to be about like Little League kids playing Little League football in the inner city and the violence there. But like for some weird reason, that was okay. Okay, so I had to watch that to offset like, Charles Manson and these sick fucks. You know what I mean? It's like violence in football was okay. You could do that. It's just that's how OCD is. It makes no goddamn sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, anyway, so I'm watching the show. And it's like really getting to me. And I'm having OCD attacks. So anyway, I finally go up to bed, and I'm laying in bed, and of course you're gonna be a killer, you're gonna be a murderer, you're gonna be just like those guys. And I kept saying to myself, I'm gonna sleep your life. I had to keep saying it over and over again. And then like images started showing like that. Like I literally saw like Charles Manson right in front of me looking at me, you know, like look, and I'm like fucking terrified. Then I would have to think of like sports characters, you know, Jack Lambert or, you know, Joe Green or whatever, to offset the image of this guy over and over while I'm saying this. And my cousin John finally came up and like he yelled at me like, "Be quiet," because he was trying to sleep. And then I had to say it to myself real quiet over and over and over again. And I didn't sleep all night. It's in rituals all fucking night. Fucked up. I'm terrified. I'm going to be a mass murderer, whatever. So I go to school the next day. I had an algebra test. At that time, I think I had a B in algebra.
Okay, here's a point I want to make too. You see these kids, like we looked at earlier, who grow on ChatGPT and end up like killing themselves or murdering people or whatever, or these school shooters. They're probably going through stuff like this. I'm not saying, excuse me, that they were necessarily OCD or something, but they're going through some really fucked up shit within themselves. And the parents are totally oblivious to it. Like he said, his parents were just like, "Hey, are you okay? Look, you're disturbed. You can just go to bed if you want." Like they're totally unaware of the entire inner life of this child. And he was a young man, child, whatever. And it really just shows the importance of, like, as a parent, like really knowing your children and like understanding what they're going through and like being there. And when you send your kid off to school all day, you really don't know them that well. You know, versus when they're with you all the time, especially in their very formative years, 0 to 7, and even after that, like really getting to know them. Like same thing with your spouse, like actually knowing this person and like what's going on within them, and obviously being compassionate, empathetic, and so forth, but also doing that within yourself. Like how much crazy shit's going through your mind every day. And if you were to sit back objectively and look at yourself yesterday, be like, "Oh fuck, dude, like, are you okay? Like, what, like you were going through all this stuff. Like, what's going on there?" And there's like no support. Like you're not supporting yourself, you're not supporting other people. And we have this whole world where everyone's just like, "Oh, hello neighbor, how are you doing?" And then they walk away. "No, I can't kill my neighbor. I can't. I gotta save my neighbor." Like, no one's gonna just openly say that to each other because we're all embarrassed and ashamed of all the stuff going on inside of us. But it's happening in every single person.
Right. The math was usually pretty easy.
And I know not every single person experiences it this extremely. I say that. But I would say at some level, most people experience stuff like this. Maybe not that specific expression, but they experience a lot of crazy stuff going on in their head that they never would want to tell anybody, like the thoughts that they have, the feelings, and so forth, right? Because as a society, as human beings, like we don't really have any intimacy with each other. We don't trust each other. And Jesus said, "Love your neighbor as yourself," but can we actually do that? Like we don't trust anybody enough to tell them, like, here's actually what I'm feeling, what I'm going through.
For me. And I could ace this test. This was a turning point in my life. This was the point where it all fell apart. I mean, I'm taking the test, and I'm so fucked up with the OCD and the rituals and everything, I couldn't even take the test. I got an F. I failed it. And after that, all my grades, all Fs. Failed like everything. Because after that's when OCD took over. Now, one of the worst things is that it really affected me by was, okay, first of all, you couldn't pay attention in class. Because while I'm sitting in class, and the teacher's giving a lecture, I'm saying rituals over and over again in my head. You know, I'm into this. And it could be for anything. There's literally, it could be a fear of being gay, fear of being unsuccessful, fear of not starting on the football team, fear of it could be any number of things. You have to say it over and over and over again. So I'm not able to pay attention to what's going on in class anyway. Reading, I couldn't fucking read for shit. To this day, I can't read. Now let me explain this to you. When I say that I can't read, okay, a paraplegic knows how to walk, but he can't walk. It's the same thing. Okay, when I would go to read a book, okay, so I'm reading the book, the man walked through the store and saw a dead dog. Okay, when I saw the word dead, obviously, I would have to say live, 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 over and over again to catch it up, or else somebody would die close to me. Okay, not only that, I would have to go back in that book and find the word live to offset where I saw dead. And if I didn't find it, I'd have to go to another book, okay, and find the word live, okay? Now, obviously, so I couldn't fucking read. Not only that, okay, and that can happen all through when you're reading. Any word could trigger an attack, okay? And what happened was, because of that, over and over...
I mean, think of how many potential children might be suffering from stuff like that when they're trying to read, even though they might be able to recognize some of the words, but it's like triggering all this stuff, right? You just saw a word and you're like triggered by that word and you can't keep going.
Over again,
I mean, I think that's like a lot of people when they try to study destiny. Like, they look at it and it triggers up all these memories in their mind. Like when I say God doesn't exist, they're like, "Oh, no, but hell and Satan and no, the devil and I'm going to die and I won't live." And it's like, calm down. I'm just talking about reality here. Even if there's no God and you don't believe it, you're still right here. Right now, you're alive. See, nothing's changed. It's like, "Well, no, but I have to do my Hail Marys and I have to do my prayers and I have to, because the demons might get in and all this." It's like, so many people are basically full-blown delusional, OCD, schizophrenic, whatever, but we act like it's just totally normal, because as long as they go to work and they get their salary and they pay their taxes and pay their bills on time, so that some people can have amazing lives and yachts and so forth while you just slave away with your whole life, as long as you keep that system going, everything's just fine.
Happening, like most people, you just pick something up, you just read it, you don't think twice about it, you just look. I can't do that. When I go to
yeah, like Owen, you're saying they drinking their beers and stuff. Yeah, because they're suppressing a lot of the emotional shit that's coming up with them every day. These people who just literally every day they drink at night, every single day they drink, and that's how they fall asleep, and they just suppress all the negative shit, and they get up in the morning and they have to focus and go to work, and they come home and suppress it again.
read something, my brain automatically to this day stops. Okay, you got to have the right thought before you start reading, got to see the right color, blah, 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 blah. Everything has to be just right before you can start reading. So automatically my brain stops, okay, for me from reading. So even to this day, I can't read. But let me put it this way. I can read in the sense that sometimes I've read many books, and you may say, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, let me give you an example here. You could have me write down a paragraph and then ask me to read that same paragraph that I just wrote. I wouldn't be able to read it. You'd be like, what do you mean you can't read it? You wrote the thing. How can you not read it when you just wrote it? And I wouldn't, because my brain puts a stop. Now, in saying that, I've read hundreds of history books and things. And then when I say that I've read those, if I pick up a book on my casual, on my own, I can read it. I'll be able to read the book. Now, I will get stuck from time to time while I'm reading, stop, have some OCD attack, then continue. So I can read in that sense. But when I say I can't read, like if somebody just hands me something, if you hand me something right now and say, oh, could you read this? It's like, it stops me. That's kind of what I'm saying. And you would think, and I read, Christ, I don't know, hundreds of books trying to beat this. And you would think that the more you read, that would change. It's opposite of that. Because if I haven't read anything in a long time, it's easier to pick something up and start reading. When you read a lot, then it just increases. It's OCD, and it's crazy fucking bullshit. Anyway, now, by this point, my parents are like, okay, something's fucked up with this guy. We need some help. Now, my mother, okay, I show up at her house one day for dinner, and then all of a sudden, now I'm terrified of going to a psychiatrist, because the next going to confirm that I'm crazy. I'd seen the movie One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest, and I'm thinking if people find out what I'm really doing, I'm going to get a fucking lobotomy or something. So you don't want anybody to know the truth, that you're fucking nuts. And I'm telling myself I'm not crazy. That was one of the attacks too. I'm not crazy. I probably said that too. I don't know. I'm sure I did. But anyway, so she says, oh, we're going. I'm like, going what? Where? And she was like, going to take me to some psychologist. I was like, again, I'm freaking out. I'm crying. I'm like, going, blah, 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 blah. I tried. If I would have gotten in touch with my dad, he would have said, fuck them, man. I'll go run, get away. I'll come pick you up. Because my dad was like, we were tight. He would have fucking came, fuck them. Anyway, my sister was coming to ease the thing. She really needed to go, but she had some issues too, but I'm not going to get into that. Hers were caused by fucking other people. But anyway, so I go to the shrink, and my sister, when I talk about it to her, she says she remembers me telling him about it, but I don't remember telling this guy anything about it, really. So anyway, that just didn't work at all. I never went back. Then I'm still fucked up. So my dad then, now it's his turn to send me to a psychiatrist, okay? So, but my dad, he's upfront about it. He's not playing games. He's like, no, you're going at this time. No bullshit, no surprises, no fucking nothing. And that's the way it is. I don't want to, well, too fucking bad you don't want to go. You're fucking going, which is better. Okay, and of course I was pissed off and mad about it, but I'm not. It wasn't like a thing that was just thrown at me. Now I will say this for my mother: it was in her. She did have it in her heart to help me. Okay, so I can't. You know what I mean? She went about it the wrong way, but it was in her heart. She wanted to help me. But anyway, so now this is really fucked up. All right, now remember, nobody knew shit about OCD back then. It wasn't like today. So I go into this psychiatrist. Now here we go. My whole life has been fucking destroyed. Here I was, I was really good looking too. You may not believe it now, but when I was younger, that's one thing I did have. I was really handsome.
He is talking fast, but I also have it up on 1.15 speed, so, but he still talks fast either way.
And I was extremely popular, okay?
But I'm assuming you guys can understand him. It's not too fast for you guys. I have heard this before, so it might be easier for me to follow, but I'm assuming it's not too fast.
And anyway, so I had everything in the world going for me, man. I was like, Chris, I could have been a senator today, I mean, it's like, and then this fucking stupid bullshit where I got to say things over and over again is destroying my whole fucking life. Everything's being destroyed. It's affecting me in sports. It's affecting me in my education. It's affecting me in my social life. It's fucking me up in every aspect of my life, okay? And I go to, and because I got to keep, because every time I think of something, a bad thought, I got to say a good thought to counter it. This is what's fucking just destroying my life. So I talk to this, what does this fucking shrink say to me? He says to me, see, everybody thought it was like I'm upset about the divorce or some bullshit. I fucking give a fuck about the divorce. Well, maybe I did, I don't know. But anyway, the psychiatrist says to me, what we can do, Steve, is we can teach you how to think of a good thought when you have a bad thought. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, that's the fucking problem, and you're telling me to fucking, what the fuck, I'm here. I'm here because of this. And this is what the guy, I'm like, at that point, I knew, it's over. I was like, okay, you know what, man? You're on your own, dude. Nobody's gonna help you. Nobody can help you. Nobody's ever gonna get this. You're just fucked. There's nothing you can do. So I decided, okay, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna beat this thing one way or the other. And I always said that all through this thing. I always was determined. One day I'm gonna overcome this bullshit. And I stayed adamant. I said, I'm gonna beat this thing on my own, my way. But in that meantime, I'm gonna hide this. Nobody is gonna know about this. I'm gonna cover it up, and I did. And I did it ingeniously. Now, one of the ways I did that was, like, say I had to pick something up like this. Now, I could, if I physically picked it up over and over again, people could see that. So this ingenious plan was, you touch it. Now, I could slowly, slightly, like, leave my arm like this and slowly put pressure on it, and that would count as picking it up, as a touch. And I could do that, and people wouldn't notice. Okay, maybe they noticed a little, but not like picking it up over and over again. Those were little ingenious ways I came up with hiding it. Another thing, I had to explain why is he getting all Fs? Why is he failing his classes? They're going to question that. What do I do? How do I counter that? What do? I decide that I'm going to be one of those guys that doesn't give a fuck about school. You know, I don't care. I just want to party, drink, go to the parties, you know, play sports. I don't care about school. I don't care at all about grades. And so I played that image. I played that part, and I played that part perfect, and people bought into it. They believed it. Okay, and it worked. I was fucking popular as hell. I was just like the party guy. You know, that was completely not me. I wasn't like that at all. I loved school. I loved the bitch. I loved education. I wanted nothing more than to be educated. But I'd rather do that than let people know that I was fucking crazy.
It really makes you wonder about people that you knew in school, you know, who were like that. Like, if there was something going on there, right? For some reason, they couldn't deal with the situation, so they had to take that character on, right?
Okay. And anyway, so I did it, and it worked. I remember one time, like, it worked, because I remember my dad, he thought I was okay, that all this shit had gone away. And one day, I just said, fuck it, and I had an attack, and I didn't try to hide it. He says, why are you doing this again? You were better, you were doing all right. And I just looked at him, I was just like, you just don't know, you have no idea, you don't know. Because he didn't know I was hiding it. So anyway, I go through high school, and again, but somehow, by some miracle, I did graduate.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to get...
Just a warning for everybody, it's about to get real weird, okay? That's why I was looking at the transcript, because I remember this interview, let's see, where are we? Yeah, it's going to get a little bit dark, okay? Yeah. But you can also see, like, how this amplifies all this.
Get back into one of the darkest, and I really was like questioning whether I should talk about this, because it's very disturbing, and it's very difficult for me to talk about it. But I figure if I'm going to be honest in this video, I'm going to bring it up. You know what I mean? This is very difficult. I had to really think, are you really going to bring this up? But I'm going to bring it up because I have to bring it up because it's very important. Okay. All right. So meanwhile, my stepmother moves in with us, right? She wasn't my stepmother at the time. They weren't married yet. And meanwhile, her sister moves in too. And her sister's like fucking with my sister all the time, which is bad. That's a whole other thing my poor sister went through. Now, my stepmother, this is one sick fucking bitch. She would, all right, let me start with this. I think the first Christmas she was around, okay, like she bought me this 48-inch blacklight, which was really a nice gift. I was like, wow, that's cool. And it was like weird because it was, I remember we were in the living room too. And we used to always open presents in the family room when we were a family, but now it was some weird thing. I don't know. But anyway, we're in the living room, and after she gave it to me, I can't remember who said it. They were saying, oh, give her a kiss, give her a kiss. I'm like, it's fucking weird. We never did that fucking shit. It was weird. And so I'm on my knees, and I go to kiss her, like, and she kisses me on the lips. And it didn't feel right. It wasn't like when your grandmother gives you a kiss. There was something different about this. Something kind of weird that I really didn't know what it was, but this wasn't a fucking regular kiss. Something felt weird about this, okay? It just wasn't normal. Well, anyway, as time went by, this bitch, now I'm 14, my sister's 15. She starts telling us explicitly sexual things she's doing with my father. I mean, she's telling these kids, telling us this stuff. Graphic details. She's talking about putting like Hershey's chocolate syrup on my dad's cock and licking it off. She's telling 14 and 15-year-old kids this shit. Meanwhile, they're banging all the time. We hear them. At first, we were like, kids were listening. And then after a while, it was like, we couldn't even sleep. And like, we're like, shut up. She'd leave the door open so you could peek in and see her getting banged. This bitch was fucked up, man. Okay, so she's doing all that shit. And now, meanwhile, she's always touching me. She's always like putting her hands on me and touching my arms and my legs. Always. It's just like, this is like, something's fucked up. It's a sexual thing happening here, man. That's what she's doing. And I don't get it. I don't see what she's doing. I don't see how she's pulling me into this shit, right? Because I'm a fucking young kid, man. I'm in the middle of fucking puberty. I'm 14. So meanwhile, I'm just going to save it and do the mix, because I can't, okay. So, and anyway, if she picked me up from football practice, she would say, oh, lay your head down on my lap. And she'd like have shorts on, my head would be on her lap, And then right before we got to that, she, oh, no, get up now, because she didn't want anybody to see, because she knew what the fuck she was doing was fucking wrong. Okay, and it just kept going further and further. She'd bend over so I could like see her breasts, she would expose herself. And it was like little by little, it was going more and more, and it was a sexual thing. I mean, I'm a fucking kid in puberty, my dick's getting hard by this, and at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I want nothing to do with my father's fucking wife, for Christ's sake. I don't want anything to do with this fucking shit. Okay, but first, I could not stop it. I did not see what the fuck she was doing to me. And then one day, and it's getting out of control now. And then there's one day, my little brothers were over, because my dad had them on the weekends or something, or it was maybe during the week, a couple weeks in the summer, and my dad was downstairs making spaghetti, my brothers, you could hear him, and I walked past their room, and she was laying on the bed, and for some reason I walked in the room.
I'm going to skip this part, but it's very graphic, let's say, and he's basically being molested by his stepmother in very explicit detail. So this really terrible thing happens, okay?
My whole body's contaminated. That was another thing I didn't get into much, the contamination thing with OCD. I'd be washing my hands constantly till they bled. No, that's a whole thing. So now I'm completely contaminated, right? And I got to get this contamination off me that G's now put on me. Okay, I'm completely contaminated. I'm feeling so guilty. How could I have done this to my father? Oh my God, this man loves me. The only person in my life. How could I have done this to him? Oh my God, what kind of a horrible person am I? How could I? I was so guilty. I went downstairs then. I heard they called me down for dinner. I couldn't even look my father in the eyes. From that day on, things with my father had never been the same after that. Never again was it the same. And I couldn't, I was...
Did he ever find out?
Well, this comes later. And so I'm just, I couldn't even look, it was terrible. So then we were all going to the pool, like our pool was, everybody had a key to the pool and clubhouse, you can go at night if you want. So we all went to the pool, and I couldn't go in the pool because if I jumped in the pool, because I was contaminated, then the pool would become contaminated as well. As well as all my clothing were not contaminated. They would all have to be thrown out. Okay, and the big problem was I had my wrestling socks on, and if you started on the team, you get varsity. It doesn't seem like a big deal now, but if you were a starter, you could keep your socks. It was like if you had 4 sets of socks, you're a 4-year starter. It was a big deal, you know? And so I didn't want to get rid of those. So I got rid of everything else. I also had a problem. My underwear I had on was like your standard white briefs. I didn't throw those out, because I didn't throw everything out right away. Eventually I did. But then I didn't know which pair of underwear I'd been wearing at that time. So now all my underwear became contaminated. Now when you have contaminated clothing, that means there's certain things you can and can't do while you're wearing that clothes. I was fucked. I was fucked in every way. Okay, so anyway, we're at the pool, and I go in, there's a shower at the pool. So I go in and I'm in the shower. I'm like, okay, just take a shower, get all the contaminant. I'm washing and washing and washing and washing. I couldn't get out. And my stepmother comes running around eventually. She's like, get out of there, somebody's gonna find out what we did. So I had to get out of there. And then, of course, I jumped in the pool. I had to. Now the pool's contaminated. I could never go in the pool again. Fuck that. That's over for me now. But anyway, so now at this point in my life, the major OCD attacks were coming from my stepmother. Okay, I'd have to counter everything. And it's fucking weird because, do you want me to continue on my makeup?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I'm gonna try to talk while I'm doing the makeup on this, okay? And the thing that's like fucking weird about it is, I was horrified by it. It was terrible by the OCD attacks. But yet at the same time, my dick was getting hard. I was like sexually attractive. I'm fucking a 14-year-old kid. You know what I mean? You can't, you know what I mean? You're fucked. I was fucked. You know, that's why you don't do that shit to fucking kids. You don't fuck with their heads like that. You know, so anyway, for a minute there, I actually kind of went and pursued her, and she did push it away for a minute. I think she realized, hey, I shouldn't have fucking done that. And then at that point, then after that, I didn't want to go anywhere near. I didn't want her touching me, because for one thing, it was the OCD. That was like the main thing. I didn't want, you know. And anytime she like bumped up against me, I would have to wash it. Like if my arm actually rubbed against her, I'd have to like wash it off, wash, all constantly. And then there was all the nightmares. I had tons of nightmares of I'm fucking her, my father. It just completely fucked my head up sexually. Just fucked me up so bad. Now, and then I got another problem here. I'm thinking, okay, and this actually came later in life, where I would say to myself, okay. And this was like later, after I was out of high school, and where the shit still bothered me. And I would say to myself, okay, now, if I hadn't had OCD, okay, and because of the OCD attacks, I didn't start banging her. If I didn't have OCD, would I just kept fucking her? And what does that say about me then? See, it puts me in a fucking fucked up situation either way. I couldn't fucking win, man. And this fucking cunt, man. I like to slice that bitch's throat, man. Jesus. Anyway. All the OCD attacks became triggered. Now I had another problem. First time I had an orgasm, right? It's from fucking her. So the only way I have to...
Okay, well, I don't want it to be too graphic on the stream, but I would encourage you to go watch the rest of it. If you look it up, Obsessive Compulsive Clown interview, it's crazy. Like, as he goes further through his life, like, man, I really feel like it was this one. Let me check the transcript. Let's see. He like, is it this guy? When he talks about like, I'm just scrolling through real quick. Maybe it's somebody else I'm thinking of. I mean, it's like a lot of sexual abuse. It's so fucked. Yeah, he went to the Navy, and then he like deserted. And then he like moved somewhere and became like a money launderer or something, like hiding from the government, and like it's just crazy shit, man. But again, it's like you just Keith, you watched this one? Yeah, I think I might have talked about it previously too, or you might have just watched it independently. But anyways, all of the graphic stuff aside, it's like you just see like how fucked people are, man. Like psychologically, emotionally. If you just think about everyone in that situation, everyone around him, if they had just been like stable emotionally and like been there to like support him, you know, because I think about like I've you know, I have 3 kids. Like I've been around a lot of kids when I was younger, like, you know, growing up and stuff. And, you know, I think about times like from my own experience where, you know, like my sister, for example, every time there was like a lightning storm, like she would flip out, man, like screaming, crying. And my parents would just like baby her, like almost like it's okay to feel that way about a lightning storm. You know, not that you should make the person feel ashamed about it, but like support them to actually understand what's going on. Like with my kids, you know, initially you hear the thunder and the lightning and they get scared, right? And I remember one time I was putting Caius to bed and there was a lightning storm outside and I could see he was a little bit nervous. And I was like, hey, you know, it's just lightning and a little bit of thunder, right? I was like, do you want to just turn off the lights and let's just watch the lightning and we can watch for whenever there's like a big flash and stuff? And he was like, okay. So we spent the next 20 minutes while the lightning and thundering was happening just like watching it. And he'd be like, oh, there was another one. And like, do you hear the thunder yet? No. There it is. Oh yeah, that was a big one. Like, and just like being there and supporting instead of like, oh, I know it's scary. Like, it's okay, buddy. It's okay that it's scary. Like, you know, like you could see there's different paths you could go down. One, you're like almost like indulging in the experience. And the other one is, no, let's just be here and let's be stable, you know, and like help, like let them see that you're not freaking out either. Like I'm not scared of it and there's nothing to be scared of. Right. I used to have nightmares because when we lived in Austin, when I was a kid, maybe like first grade or something, second grade, something. Yeah. Like kindergarten, first grade. Yeah. First grade. And, I'd always be terrified that like a tornado was going to like rip through our house, you know, and I'd tell my mom and she'd be like, no, that's not going to happen, you know, versus like with my children, when they're like, when they went through that point of learning about tornadoes, because we get like a tornado warning, right? Because we live in an area where sometimes every once in a while there's like a tornado alert or something, you know, and we talk about it. You know, one time we were at a grocery store and there was a storm and there was a tornado warning and we had to all go, every customer, you know, they said we could leave if we wanted to. But we were like, well, or we could just wait for a few minutes in like the back. They had like a sheltery kind of back room of the store. So we all sat in there and we just talked to everybody and talked to the kids about what was going on and everything. And after a while it was over. And I observed after that, none of my kids were like, oh yeah, that time there was a tornado. Is a tornado going to hurt us? Like, oh no, like they didn't develop that sort of obsessive fear over that thing because like we were just stable within it, you know? And I'm saying that because, like, if you look at this guy's experience, none of the adults in his life were stable at all. Like, clearly. And he said, I know in the beginning, like, oh, I had a great childhood. Really? Did you? Because then why'd your parents get divorced? It was so great and stable. No, it's just because you had money. Like, at some level, he had money, and that gives you a lot of nice things. And maybe you don't see the problem until later, but clearly his dad was not stable. That he marries that woman who then ends up abusing him and you know, you would think a person coming into that situation would understand, okay, this child, because he's a child at that time, even if he's 14, he's a child, you know, he's got this issue, you know, this psychiatric issue. He's been to psychiatrist, he's been to psychologist or whatever. Like, I'm aware of that because the father would have shared that. We would know and we would be supporting him. Instead, she's like fucking with his mind even more. And I'm not blaming her because I guarantee you, if you go back into her childhood, she could probably do an interview just like this and her story would be just as messed up. How could it not be? If you're not having some messed up experiences in your life, why would you ever develop those points within yourself, right? So we really don't consider the actual cause and effect of like all the things we're participating in. So if you tie this back to the beginning of what we were talking about, you know, you hear the guy talking like, I'm a targeted individual and the government's doing a spying program on me. And you're like, oh, okay. Like I saw a comment. Someone's like, this guy's a nut job, whatever. Okay. You can say that. But what about you? Do you ever have delusional experiences in yourself where you think somebody's mad at you or you don't like somebody? Maybe even me saying right now it's pissing you off because I'm saying that you're not actually considering everything. It's like just a judgment, right? Like I could sit here and laugh at this guy. Like, oh, look at these idiots. Oh, they're so crazy. But like actually bring it back to yourself. Like when you're sitting in your house and you're afraid to go do something, whatever it is, like you're having all these thoughts and feelings and everything, and you're like literally just in a mental delusion. None of it is real. Like if there's an actual physical danger, that's one thing. Like there's a tiger there and it's a dangerous animal and it looks hungry and it's going to eat you. Okay. But so much of our reality as human beings, especially if you live in the first world, all of your fears are just delusional. And there's also real things too, like you can't pay your bills because you can't get a job, or you need 3 or 4 jobs because they just passed a law over here that increased the gas prices, which increased the prices of food, which means all these businesses had to shut down or whatever the thing is. And you say, well, but that's a real problem. I agree. But then we get to the point where I'm saying, okay, let's actually change the system. Let's actually, for those people who can actually hear me, let's work together and let's stand up in this world. Let's go into politics. Let's work together. Like one person going into politics by themselves isn't going to change shit. Just look at Thomas Massey, which, I don't know the guy, but he seems like he's somewhat has a principled stand within not just accepting all the normal course of bullshit that happens in politics. And then the whole system just comes against him, and I don't know, he might be a piece of shit. I don't know him, but he seems pretty cool. And you see it time and time again, like Ron Paul. He had at least some kind of a coalition, but it wasn't enough. We need a lot of people to actually stand up in this world and start speaking about what's really going on and teach people how to actually stabilize yourself, how to actually be here, how to not participate in all these delusions. And the thing is, all that delusional experience, emotional stuff, thinking, all that stuff that comes up, it's like all of your past, especially as a childhood in your first 4 to 7 years, all of that condensed all into every single moment that you're experiencing yourself. All that stuff coming up, it's all from that. And you don't know how to change that. And people don't know how to change that. They don't know how to go back in time, so to speak, and fix all those points. But there is a way to do that. All right, I'm going to leave it at there tonight, guys. Appreciate y'all sticking around. I know that was a little bit of a longer one, but damn, that is so fascinating. When you really start to look at people's lives and like what they actually experienced, And yes, I know sometimes you don't know. Are they just lying? Like, are they delusional? The targeted individual, is he just making shit up? Is it a fantasy? I don't know. Is the schizophrenic guy making it up? Is this guy making it up? Is the DID person making it up? All the people who've been sexually abused, are they just making it up? And then another thing too, I'll say before I close, is like, now you start to think about the politicians. And it's very easy for us to go into blame and be like, oh, they're so evil. No, they're fucked up like this. They're just fucked up. Just like everybody else. But you listen to this guy, Steve, the clown guy, he's a really good speaker. He seems like a very intelligent person. And like he said, he's like, man, if I didn't have this problem, I could be like a senator or something. I agree. He's probably right. Especially when you listen to the rest of his life. You're like, dude, this guy's fucking creative, man. And so they get these fucked up people. They become artists who influence the media, who influence our children and generations to think a certain way and to think about certain things certain ways, like love and sex and drugs and all these things. And the politicians are up there talking about Jesus and all this stuff. Meanwhile, they're doing God knows what behind closed doors. Like, where are the real human beings that are left on this planet who are not just totally lost, like in a fucking program? Like you've just become a robot. Is there anybody actually out there who's still real in any little way? There's a little bit of realness left in you. That's who we're looking for. All right, guys. I'll leave it at that. And today's Thursday, so I'll see you tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Central. Good night, guys.